Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm with my other co-host, Tony the Sugar Baggy Bird. How you doing today, my man?
Doing good. Glad to be here on this Friday.
Yes, I am very happy. It is Friday. It's been a long week. I'm sure it's been a long week for you as well. Pretty crappy week in terms of celebrity news, but we'll be getting to that in a second. But what's going on, man? What's new?
Rocking and rolling. Working out every single day. Feeling good. Getting myself at the top of my game. How about you, my friend?
Well, I'm not working out every day, and I'm not at the top of my game, but I am feeling good.
Well, good. That's good.
But before we
be at the top of your game, I don't know why you're not.
Man, I don't know. 40's coming around the corner, you know.
40, I'm 43.
Yeah, you're old as shit, man.
Yeah, and like I said, feeling better every day. You feel worse than me, and you're 3 years younger.
I know.
Get on the train.
I gotta wait till I'm 43 to feel better.
Oh, that.
But to go to a somber note, telling before we even get into the show, we had two big passings this past couple weeks. Actually, this past week, one of them being Malcolm Jamal Warner, who everybody knows from The Cosby Show. He was also in other series such as Suits. He was in a great series with Luke Perry called Jeremiah. That was on Showtime, I believe. Just gone way too soon. I think he was only 54, and he unfortunately accidentally drowned, and he was with his 8-year-old, which is extremely horrible. Any thoughts on Malcolm Jamal Warner?
Legend for his time period, on the Cosby Show.
Yeah, and he was, like I said, he was an excellent actor that people mostly know him as Theo from The Cosby Show. But like I said, Jeremiah, he was just great. And as far as movie in Suits, he played a psychiatrist, a counselor, which I thought he did a great job as well. And any weird Malcolm Jamal Warner roles that you remember?
I mean, for me personally, I wasn't a huge Cosby fan. I mean, I knew the show. I mean, but like, he was on Sons of Anarchy, I think, a little bit. I mean, he was an okay. He was good for what he did. Excellent. That's. I mean, I would even call sometimes Pacino excellent. But hey, I'm just being funny here.
Yeah,
he was good for what he was. His memory for people, from what I gather online, is the Cosby Show. I mean, that's where, and people who watched him as a young child in the Cosby Show, it's like when you lose somebody from like New Kids on the Block, if you were a huge fan, or Backstreet Boys, it's like they're part of your life at this time period. And it's sad. It's sad when anyone dies personally, but
yeah,
entertainment
extremely sad. He was on I know he was on Malcolm and Eddie too, which is another like comedy show with Eddie Griffin.
Yeah,
I remember he was on that. Just saying, like his little roles that people like I said, Jeremiah and Suits is where I can picture him. I know he was on American Horror Story as well. He also did like a movie called King of the Underground. That was okay. Just really sad that he passed. And to go along with that, Colson Montgomery just hit another home run. Shota Imanaga is getting lit up tonight. Just to go along with that, more horrible news with the passing of the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne, who passed away at the age of 76 this week. We kind of figured Ozzy was kind of like not doing too well, especially when he did his last benefit concert, sitting in a chair. And we learned that he had Parkinson's for the past 5 years. But I didn't expect him to go this quickly after the concert. Any thoughts on Ozzy? I know you're the music guy.
I love you to death. I just always hate when, like, when Brian said it too. Like, I always hate when people say that. Like, yeah, we knew it was coming. Like, my age question to you is always this: when somebody dies, is it easier to know when it's coming, or is it easy when it just comes out of nowhere?
I would say it's easier to know when it's coming.
It is, but you called Malcolm Jamal Warner excellent, which he's a good artist. I mean, Ozzy had a career since 1968. I mean, your favorite band's drummer played the drums on his last 2 albums. This man touched, there's never going to be another one like him. So, and that's it. Like, for me personally, like you, a lot of people can like a lot of different bands, and those guys will pass away, but it will never be as big as Ozzy, because Ozzy had a festival for himself. I mean, had 2 bands touching different generations. When you saw online, it was just really huge for me, very important. What I did want to show you here is I got a clip here. What movie is this from?
The jet now over Japan. We heard they got a gig with the monkeys.
The fucking monkeys? You're kidding me.
Hey, it's a tough business. Don't worry about nothing. Me and Jocko here, we've been wiring up shit for years.
The Jerky Boys.
Yeah. So, like, he awesomely appeared in a lot of cool movies. He was that show, you know, when it came out, you know, it was like, but when you watch it, man, he was hilarious on the Osbournes, you know, and a rock star to be in these different parts and all these different decades. I spent one whole day this week listening to every one of his solo albums, which honestly, I knew a lot of the songs, but to really dig deep, there's a lot of talent there. And, you know, and even Katie said it a little while ago, which I saw someone make a comment online. She's like, man, he was actually a pretty decent singer. I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, again, I hate to knock somebody like an Anthony Kiedis, but when you compare like Ozzy to like Anthony Kiedis, just their vocals over what the rest of the band is doing, it's pretty impressive. And honestly, set the generations pretty far for that. So to say he's not a good singer is kind of silly. But hey, everyone's got their own opinions to say.
Somebody in your YouTube comments said that.
I know. Well, I didn't see anyone, you know, you run them. You could have been like, that's silly to say.
I was just like, what? No, in terms of like, well, yeah, I do believe Malcolm Jamal Warner was an excellent actor, because I think he just should have shown more than what he did. Just people don't know, like, more of the childhood roles for him, but I thought he did more stuff as it's kind of hard to get away from that child shadow, especially in his stage. But when it comes to Ozzy, like, there's no metal without Ozzy, or, you know, Black Sabbath. He transformed music as it is. He was like, Sharon put that idea for Ozfest, and like, it blew up. Now they're talking about, Billy Corgan just recently said today that they're talking about maybe, since he did this last, you know, send off for charity, maybe they should do a charity concert every year in his honor. So that could be something going forward. His music,
doing like an Ozfest without him, and using that money to, because I mean, they did the Ozfest it came to Tinley Park. I counted earlier today, it came 12 years, you know, 11 years. I mean, it was a pretty successful thing, and they raised a lot of money. It was the most money, I guess, raised for a concert, they said. And so Ozzy again, but that's what sucks, is that, you know, I think I saw him going. I think in the next couple of years, I just didn't see him. I watched that concert. Yes, he wasn't in the best of shape, but it wasn't like, this is it. But now, after it's all said and done, there's been rumors saying like he almost didn't even been able to get on the plane to get to the concert. So there's a lot of stuff in the background, you know, that we don't know, which kind of stinks a little bit. But, you know, the thing about, you know, back to Malcolm Jamal Warner is you're right. You know, there is a lot of untapped potential because of what we saw on some of those television roles. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just sucks. You know, it sucks.
Yeah, and Philly checks in saying Perry Mason is such a great Ozzy song, which it is. I told you my favorite song from Ozzy is Tomorrow. I actually listened to.
Since you've sent me that message, I played that song 17 times. It's a great one at the gym. It really gets you pumped up. But you, again, touches everybody.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of his stuff recently too. Gets Me Through. I was listening to actually earlier today.
It's a good one. It's a good song.
Yeah, so R.I.P. to Ozzy. Just person that's transitioned, from rock to metal, and then transitioned from that into movies and parodies and TV, television commercials. He was fucking doing Pepsi Twist commercials with his kids. I watched the World of Warcraft commercial with him. Have you ever seen that one? It's hilarious.
Yes, that's good. Seventh inning stretch, honorable
my God,
seventh inning stretch of all time.
Yeah, when he was, yeah, I guess you know the words. He just mumbled and helped the crowd could carry him.
That was great.
Yeah, he collaborated with Rob Zombie on a good song, Ironhead. Shout out to Tom Morello too for helping him get together that those bands.
That was a good time.
But yeah, R.I.P. to Ozzy. Just wanted to touch on those two people before we moved into the show and started having a little fun.
What about the third guy? You didn't want to touch on him?
That guy at
Phil Starr? No, I know he's not.
Oh, we could talk about Hulk Hogan. I mean,
the only thing I'll say about him is two things: is that unfortunately, it's kind of like the Kevin Spacey effect, where bad deeds overshadows things that could have been good.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'll mention is, man, when No Holds Barred came out, that movie. But besides that, I don't really have. It's not like I don't have anything like I was an Ultimate Warrior guy, so frankly, I don't got a whole horse in this race.
I'm a Bret Hart guy, but
yeah, I know you are. See, so
no, there is no wrestling isn't what wrestling is without Hulk Hogan. I watched it. I grew up. I watched Hulk Hogan. He was Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny, great movies.
Of course.
Take away his stupid personal stuff. Yeah, there's no bigger star in wrestling besides him. I did hear a funny joke before I read a funny joke before I got on, and it said that it's pretty in poor taste, but it said Hulk Hogan decided he wanted to be cremated because he didn't want to get buried, which is a wrestling term for not going on the over. Yeah, I mean, I guess prayers to his family as well. He did touch a lot of people's lives in terms of happiness. Just a lot of BS.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you gotta keep your fucking mouth shut and not say stupid. No, not to say, not keep your mouth shut and think those thoughts, but not even think the thoughts that you're.
Yeah.
But shame. But what can you do, right?
He was Elvis's favorite wrestler too, if you remember.
I mean, out of the three of the week, it's his legacy. Unfortunately, is a little tarnished. Malcolm.
Yeah, they said Ozzy as his first act as being dead was to take Hulk Hogan with them.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, so that's three. Unfortunately, man, like they say it comes in threes when it comes to celebrities, and it came pretty quick that way. I was like, oh,
sure did.
But hopefully nobody else anytime soon.
Please, no more.
Hulk Hogan was the third man again. Yeah, he was. He was a third man again. But let's move on, Tone, to a little more happier stuff and go into what we've been watching, my friend.
All right.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
So what were you watching this week, my friend?
All right, we'll get started with Private Parts. Howard Stern's Private Parts. The very part in the beginning where he's like at the music awards and he's like walking through the crowd and Ozzy says he looks like a fucking idiot. That's pretty much why I watched it. But it's crazy to think like Paul Giamatti's in this movie. When this movie was released, I remember seeing this. And I believe Beavis and Butthead to America, like on the same day or so. It was a crazy comedy day. And honestly, I'm not like some diehard Howard Stern fan. I don't like watch the show, the one I like some of the things. But this movie, for when it came out, I thought it was pretty hilarious. It had a pretty good soundtrack too to boot. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So for this movie, I remember seeing it on, I think, USA, and when it was cut for TV, the parts that were censored, he would come out and say, "Buy the DVD." I said, "Buy
Really?
the DVD." Yeah, it
That's
would
awesome.
pause in the scene, like with the girl with the speaker part.
Yeah, he
He
really
would
did
it
that.
would pause before anything it cut away, and he would come out like in front of the screen and be like, "You really want to buy a DVD to see this part," and then walk away, and then it would cut be censored, which I always thought was funny.
That's
Uh,
great.
I was never a huge Howard Stern fan. I know there are a lot of people who are. I'm just not really into shock jock
You're not.
radio, but I can't deny his influence and the mark he's made on radio. I mean, the guy I'm signed $100 million, $500 million contract with Sirius, and that was a huge thing at the time to go from the rock stations in New York to Sirius, which is something that was basically like satellite. It is satellite radio, and he was one of the big first people to do it. Now you got people like Joe Rogan going over Spotify. He was kind of like that trendsetter in that way. And then of course, you had the Howard Stern show on E. I did watch some of those, especially when Gary used to do his rock and roll challenges. Gary and Baba Booey used to have their rock and roll offs. Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of him, but cannot deny his impact on radio and entertainment in general.
I always remember taking a road trip with 3 friends from here all the way to California, and an argument that me and one of my buddies got into all the way there was who was more bigger, like popular. Was it Howard Stern or was it Mancow? And I had Howard Stern and my friend had Mancow. And I'll never forget, we roll into LA and there's the hugest Howard Stern billboard you've ever seen. And then a block away, it was literally the biggest my computer screen. It was a Mancow one. And I looked at him and I said, "See, look, that's what people think of the two of them." I really wasn't a Mancow fan. And he was on the radio stations I loved growing up. But a lot of people got mad at him when he moved over to Q101, just like they got mad at Stern when he kind of sold out. But when you look back at it, these are all just business moves that people do, and they do them every single day. And when you're a kid, you're just like, whatever. But it's always cool when I guess you call this movie kind of like a taboo type movie, because Stern never was in another movie after this, and it's kind of just its own little thing.
Yeah, and he played himself too, which is kind of funny.
It was funnier. It was the funnier parts are when he plays himself younger.
Yeah.
You telling me that about that USA, I've never seen that before in my life. And honestly, that sounds pretty hilarious. I would have enjoyed to see that, because I watched a lot of those movies where they edited them and it would be like, wow.
Yeah. It's really smart marketing, to be honest with you.
It was marketing at that time.
What else did you watch, my friend?
Today I happened to get into Happy Gilmore 2. I really don't know what to say. The next conversations are pretty much like, do you want to take it the route of Beetlejuice 2, or do you want to take it the route of well, this just is what it is, and we'll smile and laugh? And it's 100% what did I read one review? It's just all it is playing the greatest hits from the first movie. There's nothing new. It's just a lot of rehashing. It's fun. It's hanging out with your best friends again, but it's again, nothing new. There are some laughs. There's some really bad laughs worth watching for free on Netflix if you got it. Yeah. They got everything is everyone's got if somebody isn't alive anymore, they got a son, you know what I mean? And if they don't got, you know what I mean? There's a connection always to something else. The cameos are out of control. Everybody from AEW wrestlers to WWE wrestlers to golfers to famous to comedian, a whole bunch. It seems to be personally and I'll be honest with Sandler, he didn't seem to have to do much for this, and he knows that. And that's the vibe I get. He could have just rolled out of bed, showed up on the set. Script is very light. And because it's Happy Gilmore, people are going to probably eat this up.
Oh man, I haven't seen it. I knew it came out today. I just
But I
didn't have
will
time
tell
to
you,
watch
it's a
it.
little bit. I will give you this though. I felt better about it than I did about Beetlejuice too,
Well, if
because
it's
this, at least in the comedy department, you could smile at some things. I remember watching this the first time with like Beetlejuice. That's almost like more sacred territory to me. Happy Gilmore isn't too sacred for me. It's just literally, um, it's just some really stupidity, but you like stupid. If you like stupid, you're gonna like this. If you like stupid, you're not gonna like Beetlejuice too. So like that's the difference, I guess. So like it's Sandler, so it's worth checking out.
if they're playing all the old hits, then I mean, I'm pretty sure it should be fine for me. Beetlejuice, I don't know what they went to after.
And I'm curious to hear, honestly, this is one I would be curious to hear your review of based upon your review of Beetlejuice. Because honestly, I went into this with super negative thoughts, and honestly, the movie dragged me not quite as negative. For me, always music is good. Even if they use the same songs from the first movie, like at the end, it's like, oh man, this is great. But you who might not feel that, you might be like, this is stupid. And I'd like to hear your review. So I'm kind of curious, um, jump up and down about it. No, but I always feel like Sandler has a charm. Just me personally, like he seems to be likable, and I like this Hubie Halloween movie. I mean, he could just be.
I
It's
really
just Adam
liked
Sandler.
his film Hustle.
Yeah, I mean, he was good in that. And again, I'm curious to just hear what others think about it. And I've read good reviews, I've read negative reviews, but it's on Netflix. A bigger debate that we could have at a later date is I just am not a fan of Netflix, but we'll talk about that later.
What? No. So I happened to check out Green Room. I actually went on Prime, and it was marked down from $14 to $3.99 on Prime,
Ooh.
which I bought it. I'm like, oh, cool. So I watched it. Dude, it is an excellent slasher film. You were right, hit the nail right on the head with Patrick Stewart saying he is not a good person in this film.
No, he's not.
He's very menacing. I thought it was just, I thought the characters actually acted more realistic when they're like, "Why can't we leave? What the hell?" And they kind of made the it more believable with the fact that they had somebody guarding the door with a gun, not to make them leave. Anton Yelkin, he at first he kind of was annoying me a little bit, but after he got tore up, I felt bad for him. And then he became like he just, I guess, reached into his inner self and tried to become a badass. The other character, Reese, who does the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, just becomes an asshole. He just goes off on his own, doesn't care about nobody, and ends up getting killed. The kills in here are brutal with the dogs, man, and but very, very good slasher, good premise. I really, really enjoyed it as much as I could for a slasher film.
I mean, the music, it's a cool premise,
Mhm.
going out to the woods, like back to the music, back in high school, friends would always play or go to these like shows at the VFW with like these small punk bands. So mentally in my mind, I can see this being a scenario where you could see yourself as a band going out to. But again, it's about, again, another story about how deep and how dark are you're getting involved in something that you really didn't know you were going to be involved in.
Yeah. I especially like when he's like, "Oh, I got a gig for you," and they're playing at some like restaurant with just like two people there. And it's just one of the guys that booked the gig, and he's just like sitting on his little booth, banging his head. That cracked me up.
That was good.
But yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It is on Prime for $4, and it's definitely worth the purchase. Speaking of a movie that was laughably bad but good enough to watch, I watched the 1989 film Arena. Basically, the premise is a guy from Earth goes into an arena to fight space aliens.
I love this plot.
It was not a very good plot. The acting was okay. I actually watched it just for the creatures. And to be honest with you, it really wasn't that bad. It was a film that is not going to win any Oscars, but it's one of those '80s films that they tried the sci-fi stuff. It's kind of like in that split second kind of realm, not A tier, more of a B tier movie, but it's good enough to get through. The fighting in it is pretty horrible, to be honest with you, Tony. It's like the punching, like a guy was punching steel and it sounded like he was punching like bone. I was like, what? It didn't make the silences didn't add up, but it was enjoyable enough for me to laugh and be like, this is ridiculous, and I actually liked it.
I have never heard of this movie, and I saw it was on Tubi. I did not get around to watching it, but boy, is it on my list. The plot, I mean, I did, after you sent it to me, I looked at this cover. It was like, is this Rawhead Rex? I didn't know what it was, but when I went to like Wikipedia and I read all about it, I was like, you know what? This actually sounds like something that I wonder if maybe somebody played around me when I was really young, because like there's something about it that seems familiar to me, but I just can't put my finger on it. Maybe when I watch it, I'll tell you more, but it sounds like an incredible plot, man.
To be honest with you, the only reason I watched it was because when I would go on Prime and I would go through the free movies, it would always be there. And I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. So I'm like, oh, let me pop this in while I'm doing something. And then I just started watching it and I was like, this is ridiculous. There's a guy named Shorty who has 4 arms. He's like one of the main characters.
What's the bad guy, the actor's name? Willie Zorb, the guy from Karate Kid?
William Zabka?
Yeah, it's not him. But when I first had the cover up and I looked, I go, is that him? And then I went to look at it, it's like, it's not. But that would have made the movie like definitely more incredible. But it looks cool though.
Yeah, check it out, man. It's like I said, it's not an Oscar-winning movie, but it's pretty enjoyable just for the fact it's ridiculously like 1980s B movie stuff, man.
I want to do some reason. Did they ever sell like figurines for this or something? Like something tells me like.
To be honest with you, I don't know. I know this movie was filmed in 1988 and they didn't release it until 1991.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind. I thought it came out. Okay, that makes sense then. That's a shame. This could have been it. They should have had Carpenter in the producer's seat.
It should have. The movie takes place, I know, in 4038, which I always thought was funny. But that's what we watched this week. Let us know what you watched over at the show Pod on Twitter, X, or let us know at the Sadistic Penguin Studios on Facebook, over or on YouTube in the comments. Before we get to our back of the VHS box segment, we got some new merch that just came out, and we're going to play a little video about it.
We would be honored if you would join us.
That's right. We have some new merch that just came out. It is the Penguin Rebels merch that is more Star Wars-esque based. We have it all over all our websites, including sadisticpenguin.printify.me, or you can get it from Sadistic Penguin Studios shop, or on Etsy, or on TikTok. We even have it on TikTok. Wow, we're blowing up, Tone.
Blowing up. And if I see you out there with this on, this is pretty much what I'm going to say when I see you.
What do we have here? What is this, the handsome contest?
You. Behave, you.
Hey.
Handsome contest. You'll be in the handsome contest.
Yes, sir. We also have a towel that was released for Mailman Jack specifically, with the Sadistic Penguins proof of approval And we have a Killer Vibes sticker that just came out, along with the cool Hook Up on Music stickers. I actually went and ordered a sample pack just to see how they come out. We have our Goonie sticker that came out really, really good and nice. We have our Sadistic Penguin Studio sticker that came out really, really cool. Also, we have our Want My PTV that came out really nice. We also have shirts that actually I am wearing right now that came out really, really cool. Fit smooth and nice. We're not going to be selling a lot of shirts, but we do have a lot of stickers. We're going to kind of stick to that kind of stuff. It's just different designs to see what works and what we like. And we have been getting some sales. So if you want to check them out, check them over on our Printify store or at Sadistic Penguin Studios in our shop. But with that, Tone, after we did our business of our plugs, let's get into probably one of my favorite segments now, the back of the VHS box, my friend.
Let's do it.
If I can find a video here. Where are you? Oh man, this is great video.
The back, the Vita Fix pumps. The back, the Vita Fix pumps. The back of the Vita Fix pumps.
I can help you.
I don't know if you could find it. That's my new. If you can't find something, I'm going to play that.
Oh my goodness. We have so many videos on there. That's why. All right, my friend. Are you ready for this one?
I am ready.
Okay, this is a 2004 film. A man erases memories of heartbreak in pastel labs, only to rediscover love through looping corridors, coffee chats, and surreal snow-swept beaches.
Sci-fi, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Memory. Can you read it one more time?
Yes. A man erases memories of heartbreak in pastel labs, only to rediscover love through looping corridors, cafe chats, and surreal snow-swept beaches.
Oh man.
Think he's probably started doing like a lot of weird movies during this time.
Is this like a happy movie?
Yes and no.
Have we talked about the movie on the show?
I don't think we've ever talked about this movie, but we have talked about the actor before.
Okay. Racist memories. This isn't I know I'm going to be wrong. I don't know. I was going to say The Sixth Day with Schwarzenegger. I know that's not it.
No.
What is it?
It's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, the movie that I've only seen once. You got me.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty decent movie.
It is a good movie. Very good movie.
Yep. So that's our back of the VHS box today. If you got it right, let us know in the comments.
That was a good one.
Yes, sir. But Tone, since we've got all of the logistics out of the way, we are going to get into our first movie breakdown in quite a while. We're going to go into a movie that was released 50 years ago, my man. 50 years in 1975. Slater Goes Deep. Tony, what'd you say about our show?
Oh, we go real deep. Real deep. Deep as Slater.
Jaws was released in 1975. It's coming up on its 50-year anniversary. It's coming back to the big screen. I can't believe the Cubs are getting destroyed. I'm loving this. Going back to the big screen. And Tony, you remember the first time you saw this film?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was very young, and it's very impressionable not to remember your first time seeing Jaws.
I always found that hilarious that when this film was out, and then eventually in the 90s we got Mallrats, and his whole premise of one of the guys is to go take his date to the Jaws ride at Universal.
That ride was pretty scary to me.
My birthday's in a couple weeks. I really like a Sheriff Brody's blazer, please. Ooh, maybe we
Sure,
can make that
Brody's
happen
blazer.
for you, Jack. But just I remember seeing this film. It was freaky because sharks are always thought of as cool animals, and then you see this shark that's just going around killing people. It's brutal. I rewatched it and like, oh my goodness, it's very, very brutal and gory to the extent, and you kind of feel bad for the people who get killed. But very revolutionary for a time. It was a summer blockbuster that was in the horror genre, and this basically started the summer blockbusters with Spielberg. It kind of got him the ball rolling on his career and him blowing up even more. Just some really, really good stuff. But we're going to be breaking down the development, a breakdown of 16 scenes from the film, and we're going to be going into some critics reviews and a cool fan theory tone. So you ready to get started, my man?
Let's do it.
Cool. Let's start off with the development.
In my thoughts, I use the technique of positive visualization.
So without a good, every good movie has a good story. And for Jaws, there's actually a novel that was written by Peter Benchley in 1974. The story, again, centered around a great white shark terrorizing a small New England resort town and a trio of men who attempt to hunt it down. Now, Bentley was inspired by real-life shark events. In 1964, he read about a Long Island fisherman named Frank Mudis, who caught a massive 4,500-pound great white shark. This, along with Bentley's fascination with shark attack stories, such as the infamous 1916 shark attacks, sparked the concept for Jaws. During the development, Doubleday commissioned Benchley to write the book in 1971 while he was working as a freelance journalist. The Doubleday was a publishing company. Benchley spent about a year and a half developing the story. He struggled with the title a lot, considering alternatives like this tone, like Leviathan Rising, The Stillness in the Water. The Stillness in the Water, like what? And then
that one would not have been good.
Yeah, before settling on the short yet punchy title, Jaws, just before the publication. Of course, the novel became a success, and it was published in February 1974. It was a surprising success, though, as a bestseller, and it set high expectations for any film adaptations, and it caught Hollywood's attention even before publication, which is something that some books get lucky with, and then some don't. We knew Spielberg was bound for greatness after his Columbo directing, but that was quick. Columbo, he made Spielberg. So pitching to the studio, of course, wasn't that hard. Film producers Richard D. Zanuck and David Brown, who did a nice little film called The Sting in 1973, came across Benchley's novel before it was published. Brown's wife, who edited Cosmopolitan magazine, ran a book excerpt that noted Jaws might make a good movie. It intrigued Zanuck and Brown, and each read the manuscript overnight and agreed it was one of the most exciting stories they've read. In 1973, months before a novel hit shelves, Zanuck and Brown purchased the film's rights for approximately $150K, which is a lot of money at the time. That's a pretty cool picture of a guy with a guy inside of a shark mouth. They secured the rights early, betting that the thriller would translate into a great film, even though they privately admitted that they thought harder about logistics of a killer shark movie. They might have been scared off. So that's kind of funny that they bought a book or rights about a killer shark, but they didn't think hard about it to scare them off. That makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't make sense at all. But they got to put out a real interesting documentary on Hulu and Disney this past week. It's like 50 behind, and I watched that along with the movie to inquisit ourselves into all of this tonight. And honestly, I'm glad we're doing this because I feel like this is like my peak enjoyment of Jaws right now in my life is like right now. I've even watched some like Shark going as like Katie's really enjoyed it, watching some Shark Week stuff. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this movie and from the perspective of like Jaws didn't really do anything wrong. I mean, it was his home and they were in his home. It is true.
What's the gorilla that died? Harambe?
Amy?
No, that's from Congo.
No, I was just kidding. Yeah, Harambe.
Harambe. They're like, he didn't do nothing wrong.
Well,
Just
Harambe's a little bit different. Harambe, he is in a cage. He's a caged animal. When you're messing in the ocean, like what they're like hunting him in the ocean. We'll get to all of it through the movie.
No, I know what you're saying. It just made me laugh. You're like, he didn't do anything wrong.
No, he didn't. He didn't. He's an innocent little shark.
Justice for Jaws.
That's Sophia walked in and saw it, and that's how I got her to like. She wasn't super scared. I'm like, don't be scared. It's just a shark in the water. Don't worry. He's a nice shark. They're just by him.
The crazy thing is about this, when they acquired the rights, Zanuck and Brown pitched the movie to Universal Studios, where they had a production deal, and initially they turned it down. The studio executives were hesitant because the idea of filming an ocean thriller with a mechanical shark was risky, and the big word, expensive. Movie companies do not like to spend money if they don't have to. But they were persisted by both Zanuck and Brown to do it. They leveraged their clout because, they just did The Sting. And eventually Universal was like, okay, we'll do it. And they approved a modest budget of about $3.5 to $4 million in a tight schedule of 55 days. Universal's willingness to proceed was cautious. No one anticipated the film would become what it became. And that's kind of how it goes sometimes with these films. Like you're like, just give the money, and then it becomes big. They'll be like, oh yeah, I totally wanted to do it that way. Kind of like it reminds me of the Danny Trejo story when in Desperado his character has no lines, and he said that on set he was calling Robert Rodriguez, come on man, let me have a line. I gotta say something. And then he went to a panel, and like there was reporters asking him, so Danny, was it your idea not to have your character speak? Because he was really emotional. And he's like, oh yeah, that was totally my idea. And he said, and Robert Rodriguez just looked at him and laughed. Like, it's just funny how, when it's successful, they're like, oh yeah, it's great. But if it doesn't, oh, I didn't want to do that.
No, yeah. It's part of the art,
Totally part of the art. But when now they have their movie secured, they got to figure out who's going to direct this. And initially, Zanuck and Brown approached established directors like John Sturges, who's from The Old Man and the Sea. He was considered, and then Dick Richards was offered a job. Richards just had directed a Western called The Culpeper Cattle Company and was an up-and-comer. Dick Richards didn't last long. In meetings, he repeatedly referred to the shark as a whale. The misunderstanding of the story's villain irritated the producers. Concerned that Richards didn't grasp material and frustrated by the whale gaffe, Brown and Zanuck fired him from the project before filming began. I think maybe Dick Richards had a guessing it was like Moby Dick, but there are some similarities in it with Moby Dick, so maybe he had Moby Dick on his mind.
It was Orca, the killer whale.
A young Steven Spielberg, just 26 years old, had directed one feature film, The Sugarland Express, also a Columbo series. For Zanuck and Brown, he noticed the Jaws manuscript on the producer's desk, and after reading it, became eager to direct. Spielberg was drawn to the thriller elements, noting similarities to his TV movie Duel, where an unseen truck driver terrorizes another driver, akin to an unseen shark terrorizing swimmers. So after Richards was dropped, Spielberg lobbied really hard for this role, and eventually his enthusiasm got him hired. So the studio was cool with it because he was already under contract. They didn't have to pay him any more money than he was going to make under his contract. So they're like, sure, we'll let him do it. I'm pretty sure they're like, I highly doubt he's going to be successful, but we don't have to pay any more money to some guy named Steven Spielberg. Before production started, Spielberg had a bout of cold feet. He worried about being typecasted as a truck and shark guy, having done Duel and now another killer creature story. He was attempted to leave Jaws, direct a different film, Lucky Lady, at another studio. Universal, however, exercised its contract to have him stay and do Jaws. Producer David Brown personally convinced Spielberg to stay, telling him that if he made Jaws, he had the freedom to do any film afterward. So that's where he gets the, I can do whatever I want feelings.
Well, and that's what's crazy in the because of the success of this movie. If it doesn't become successful, he doesn't get anything. So it's just so funny how, like, the chances that were taken, and we're going to get into them as we go along here. Just honestly, it's a crazy when you think about sugar. I have never seen the Sugarland Express. I've seen Duel, but to imagine going from the Sugarland Express, and Duel to this type of movie. One thing I know is filming on the water is no easy task.
Waterworld.
That's exactly. I was going to start with that, but then I just said, no, I'm not going to bring Waterworld up. I do enjoy it.
Shit. Sidney Steinberg, who was Universal's president at the time, and the man who discovered Spielberg, also encouraged the young director to stick with Jaws. Spielberg, though apprehensive, heeded the advice and proceeded to stick with it. And it was probably the best decision he ever made in his life, if not his career, because now he's an A-list, if not the S-list of Hollywood directors. Going to that, we now have our director, we have our story, we have we have the publishing rights, we have our studio. Now let's get to the fun part of the cast. For Chief Martin Brody, who's the police chief of Amity Island, people who were considered were Charles Heston, who wanted the role of Brody. However, Spielberg felt Heston's heroic screen persona was too grand and would overshadow the story. Audiences might assume Heston's character could handle any shark. I mean, he handled the 10 Commandments. The hell with those sharks, man.
Isn't he the one in Wayne's World too, where he's at the gas station? He's like, I remember a girl down on. Oh, that's something else. It's totally off character. We can continue.
Wait, is he in Wayne's World
2? Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, he is at the gas station. Yeah.
He's like, I remember a girl, and he's like, can't we get somebody a little more real for this scene? And then they bring in Charlton Heston. But he couldn't play this movie. That's what as soon as I thought of him in the notes here, as I'm looking at him, I thought of that scene. So no, he couldn't have played that role.
The part was also offered to Robert Duvall, but Duvall wasn't interested in playing Brody. He said he'd rather portray the shark hunter Quint instead.
Now, you can never replace Quint.
Mm-hmm.
I could somehow mentally see him as Quint, but we're not going to have that conversation. Brody, no, he could. I don't think he could have played Brody. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe he could have. I like Duvall, so.
Roy Scheider ultimately got the role. Scheider, known for the French Connection, learned about Jaws by overhearing Spielberg discussing a scene at a party. The director described a shark leaping into a boat. Scheider immediately expressed interest, and Spielberg was initially hesitant, worrying Scheider might play Brody as too tough, but he eventually realized Scheider's everyman quality was perfect, and eventually he was cast as the role of Chief Brody. For Quint, the grizzled shark hunter, people who considered for the role were Lee Marvin and Sterling Hayden for Quint. Both were rugged types, fitting the role's mold. However, Marvin flat out passed on the offer, and Hayden also declined. They may have been uninterested in another monster movie or reluctant to spend months at sea filming. You gotta understand, during this time, filming at sea was not something people wanted to do. To be honest with you, I don't know if it's anything people want to do now. But back then, we didn't have all the luxuries we have now, and it probably would have sucked too. But the cast was given to Robert Shaw, who was suggested by Zedek and Brown, who had just worked with them on The Sting. Shaw initially had reservations about it. He openly disliked Benchley's novel. He found it pulpy. What changed his mind was encouragement from his wife and secretary, who loved the story and reminded him from the last time they were excited about a role. It turned out great. They cited Shaw's own part in From Russia with Love. James Bond reference there. Shaw agreed and threw himself into the role. He drew inspiration for Quint's sea salty dog manner from real-life fishermen on Martha's Vineyard. Shaw's performance, full of eccentric monologues and intensity, like the famous USS Indianapolis speech, which we'll get to, became iconic, even though he wasn't the first pick. And I know you said Robert Duvall, and he's an excellent actor. I think Robert Shaw, his performance in here is legendary. I that's like all I can say. Like his perform. When I think of Jaws, I think of Quint. Like it's like 2 and 2, like 1 and 1, like peanut butter and jelly. Jaws and Quint to me. That's
Yeah,
just the way
that's
I
why
think
I
of it.
started by saying he could never be replaced. I said, but I could see Robert Duvall playing him.
Yeah, but I just think Quint knocked it out of the ballpark.
Oh yeah, I mean, have you ever heard anyone ever say he didn't? You
I'm
probably should
pretty
beat him up with a stick.
I'm pretty sure there are people. Also,
Find him, please.
I loved Dana Carvey's rendition of Quint in The Master of Disguise.
Oh yeah, that's good.
JP.
Never thought we'd reference that movie.
Oh, we're gonna reference it, man.
Turtle.
Tony Swab. For the role of Matt Hopper, the marine biologist.
Hooper.
I'm sorry, Matt Hooper. I'm sorry. The marine. There, I mispronounced something. Drink. Considered for the Spielberg originally eyed John Voight for Hooper and others like Timothy Bottoms, Michel Vicente, Joel Gray, and Jeff Bridges were also considered. The role called for a youthful, energetic scientist, and many young actors were in the mix. Spielberg's friend George Lucas recommended Richard Dreyfuss, who had also co-starred in Lucas's American Graffiti. Now, Dreyfuss eventually landed the part, but not without drama. He initially passed on Hooper, worried about the difficulties of an ocean shoot. However, after Dreyfuss saw himself in a just completed film, The Apprentice of Duddy Kravitz, and panicked that his performance was poor, he changed his mind. Fearing his phone might stop ringing once the film was released, he just basically took the role just to get cast in something else. He brought a lot of humor to the role, and he was very neurotic in it, which I thought was a really good chemistry between this cast of the 3 main characters. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
For the cast spot of Chief Brody's wife, Ellen Brody, Lorraine Gray was cast as Ellen. Lorraine Gary. Gary was an actress who happened to be married to Universal's president, Sidney Sheinberg. Oh, man. She had impressed Spielberg in a prior audition, not to mention that he was his mentor. So I'm pretty sure that has something to do with it. And as the studio's chief's wife, she was an easy choice. Gary brought warmth and down-to-earth quality to the role, which Spielberg wanted to anchor Brody's family life. Not much was recorded about who else was cast, so I'm pretty sure she was probably a shoehorn for it, since she probably wanted the role. And Sidney probably told, "Hey, Stevie, my boy, I'm giving you this movie. Let my wife be in it." So he's like, "Okay." For who some consider the real villain of Jaws,
there we go.
Mayor Larry Vaughn. Maury Hamilton was selected to play Amity's Mayor Larry Vaughn, who notoriously keeps the beaches open. Hamilton was a character actor known for playing charming or authority figures. Spielberg and the producers felt he fit the bill as a problematic, if not short-sighted, small-town politician. Again, there's not really a lot of information on who else was considered, but Murray Hamilton played the asshole perfectly in this film.
He did.
Larry Vaughn.
He was a great a-hole.
Yeah, best sport quote in the film, as Mailman Jack says. Additional casting notes. Most of the supporting cast and bit parts were filled with locals from the Martha's Vineyard area. Spielberg believed using real local people and added authenticity to the film. For example, the grieving mother of the little boy, Alex Kincher, was played by Lee Farrow, a Vineyard resident and community theater experience expert there. Young Jeffrey Voorhees. Maybe he's the brother of Jason Voorhees.
That's what I thought when I saw his name.
A local kid played Alex Kincher, the shark's second victim. Even the film's author, Peter Benchley, cameoed as a TV news reporter on the beach. This mix of seasoned actors and real locals helped ground the film in a believable small town atmosphere. And I think he did an excellent job in doing that.
He did.
On set, a notable dynamic was the clash in chemistry between Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss. Shaw, a classically trained actor and older, often teased and challenged Dreyfuss, a brash young movie star. Their friendly feud mirrored their characters' rivalry, and many believe enhanced their on-screen performances. Despite some tension during production, the main cast ultimately delivered a compelling ensemble that sold the film's terror and humor. And I could totally see Shaw and Dreyfuss getting into it, especially since Shaw was a big time drinker.
Well, I think, and Dreyfus was a big time coke user, so it was a really bad dynamic at that time. And if you watch that documentary, I mean, Dreyfus says that, I mean, Robert Shaw is like a real actor. I mean, he's intense. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying Dreyfus wasn't a real actor, but like Shaw came from like Britain, you know what I mean? Like those English theaters. So like it was but they also, that chemistry brought them closer together. Like they didn't hate each other. Like a lot of people said, it just was a rivalry that they had on the set, which I thought was
And that's sometimes good for movies. That makes the performances better, which it did in this film.
Yeah.
And then it can also make things bad, like Wesley Snipes in Blade 3 when he refused to open his eyes.
Well, I thought was cool too is they said while them two are fighting, they said like Roy Scheider, he was like the health nut, like he'd be like working out, tanning on the beach, and these two are like arguing or whatever. So imagine like he's just chill in the corner while these guys are just fighting.
Yeah, man, I love Roy Scheider. But we had issues with filming. One, open ocean filming. Jaws was the first Hollywood movie that was major to shoot on the real ocean. That's a great picture. Not in a tank or in a backlot. Spielberg insisted on filming at sea to capture authenticity, but this decision led to endless production troubles. The shoot took place off Martha's Vineyard, chosen for a shallow coastal waters and picturesque kind of look for it. And Mother Nature was a real bee. There's unpredictable water and weather conditions disrupting the schedule. You had tides, you had winds changing. The open ocean had unplanned intrusions. Sailboats would drift in during the filming, which I thought was hilarious. Salt water damaged the equipment, and cameras had to be carefully waterproof or they would get soaked, which I kind of thought, like, if you're going to film on the ocean, don't you think you would know that? But
I thought it was very, very interesting too, because like in the documentary, they said like they made all these sharks, and then they were like, "Yeah, but they made them for freshwater." Like they knew that they were filming in the ocean. Why the hell? And that's why it just trouble.
Yeah, special camera rig had to be invented to keep the image stable on rolling waves, and even then, filming was slow. Spielberg later admitted he was naive about how the ocean filmmaker would be, calling his younger self foolhardy for thinking he could conquer the elements. What you did, Steven, you conquered it. There's also mechanical shark nightmares. The star villain, the 25-foot mechanical great white shark named Bruce, was an engineering marvel, but it rarely behaved. 3 mechanical sharks are built, one plus size from one side and 2 open-sided models for different angles, and they proved notoriously unreliable. The salt water wrecked them and was a havoc on Bruce's electrical systems. The shark's rubber skin absorbed the water and ballooned. Hoses were corroded or disconnected. The mechanical sharks would often stop working entirely, sometimes sinking or breaking at the worst moments.
I thought it was hilarious. Like they said that like the very first time, like everybody was like, it was in the water, the shark, and everyone's excited. And it's supposed to come out head first out of the water, but it came out ass first. Like because like the mechanical thing like broke. So like it's just hilarious to think of all these troubles and the way the movie looks. You can sense any trouble.
Yeah, it's great. That's awesome. I gotta watch this documentary now.
You got to. I mean, honestly, it's a good little watch.
Every time the shark failed, which was often, shooting had to be paused. Technicians would labor to repair Bruce while the cast and crew were sat waiting. This is probably why Scheider got all his working out and tanning on. On a typical 12-hour day, Spielberg said they sometimes spent only 4 hours actually filming. The rest was fixing problems. Principal photography, originally slated for 55 days, stretched to 159 days, May to October 1974, due to largely the shark delays and ocean issues. This caused budget overruns, all these setbacks inflated the budget dramatically. Jaws' budget nearly tripled from around $4 million to about $9 million by the end of the shoot. The mechanical sharks alone cost about $3 million due to redesigns and repairs. And of course, Universal was not happy. about this. They labeled the project a runaway project and a runaway production, and Spielberg feared daily that he would be fired for blowing the schedule. This also made the crew upset. The crew was just exhausted. They started calling the film flaws because of all the bad things that was happening. Seasickness was common. Even Robert Shaw struggled with nausea on the Orca. Sunburn, physical fatigue, and frail nerves plagued everyone. At one point, the Orca, which is Quint's boat, even began to sink unexpectedly during filming, nearly taking expensive cameras and actors with it. Safety boats quickly rescued them and the equipment. It seemed like everything was going wrong for this film. There was no script and on-set writing, as if mechanical and weather rules were enough. The screenplay itself had to be refined during production. And I know we talked about this, Tone, about how sometimes films get just written as they're being filmed. It's kind of crazy that Spielberg was unhappy with their early drafts, so he hired a writer-actor named Carl, what's his name, Gotep, to be on the set for rewrites. Many scenes were reworked or improvised just a day or hours before shooting, and that's kind of crazy that you wouldn't know that if you watched the film.
I think this is a great when you are live somewhere and you're just like, you're on the set of this movie and you're just watching the film going, you're like, what's going on? But the editing, when he puts it all together, that's when you're like, this isn't what I was sitting there watching, but that's what shows Spielberg is how great he is.
Yeah. Many scenes were reworked and improvised. This fluid process improved the dialogue and the characters, but also meant the team was often flying by the seat of their pants. There was actor challenges beyond the Shaw-Dreyfus rivalry, which was, as we said, playful. Robert Shaw faced personal hurdles. He had tax problems, don't we all, that required him to leave set and fly to Canada on some days. He occasionally drank heavily, don't we all, which worried the crew. But he maintained professional in front of the camera, and some real friction between him and Dreyfus actually highlighted the performance, as we said earlier. There were also safety close calls. There were a few scary moments. Screenwriter Carl Gottlieb, which is, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, who was also cameoed as the newspaper editor, was almost injured by the boat's propeller during a mishap. In another instance, Richard Dreyfuss got stuck in a steel shark's cage during filming. He escaped unharmed, but it underscored how dangerous the ocean could be. In the end, the production woes forced creative solutions that arguably improved the movie. Because the shark prop often didn't work, Spielberg forced the film many scenes suggesting the shark's presence rather than showing it. The team used simple but clever tricks, ominous sightings above water, or the famous yellow barrels attached to the shark, bobbing and weaving. The less is more approach built tremendous suspense and terror in the final film. And I think, Tone, that's something that this film, I think, was a trendsetter in. Like, I can't think of any film, maybe, and that used it to such perfection since maybe the 1950 horror films that didn't have like a lot of money for sets. So they use sounds that kind of like one film that sticks out to me is like Cat People. You never see the cat people, but you hear like there's a bus that pulls and it sounds like a cat. When a lady's running away, you can hear like the hissing of a cat or the claws clinking the floor, stuff like that. Like it kind of like those were films that started. I think this film just took it to a whole nother level and launched it into something that could be really, really marketable, because those films were in the B movie range. This film like exploded that aspect of the art.
You know, a movie that could be compared to Jaws 2 is like a Psycho, where you're not really you're in the dark pretty much a lot of it, and that's what makes you more scared. Like Spielberg said multiple times over the years, like if you would have saw more of the shark, you might have thought it was stupider than what it really was. Like he showed the shark just enough. You know what I mean? Like any more in 1975 would have been too much. And, you know, and any less, it wouldn't have been enough.
And it's kind of crazy you say Psycho, because Spielberg later quipped that the shark's malfunctions made Jaws a Hitchcock-style film instead of a B-style movie flick. One of the most iconic lines, "You're going to need a bigger boat," was improvised on set. It was originally a running joke among crew about their undersized undersupported and undersized port barrage. The line stayed in, which I thought was kind of cool. As filming dragged on, Spielberg generally fears Jaws would end his career before it even got started. When shooting finally wrapped, the last scene filmed was the shark's demise. Spielberg was so paranoid about a crew prank that he skipped town on the final day. Not present when the shark met its end on camera. Ironically, all the pain and problem solving paid off.
Two cool things is during this time, of course, stress was super high for Spielberg. So they're like, you didn't drink or smoke. Like, how did you let off steam? He said he used to go down to the arcade and play video games for hours. I thought
I could totally see that.
That was pretty cool. And the second thing is, and this is the one that he didn't mention who, but imagine someone went up to him at a party and was like, you're never going to work again after Jaws. Everyone's making fun of you in town, saying that you're a big joke because of the way this movie's going. And he's like, I just thought that was the rudest thing somebody could say to me. And then can you imagine that guy, whoever saw him after? Like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, there's people like that. How many stories have we heard from people tell bands like, oh, you're never going to be big?
All the time. But that's what you use as the fuel to get it to where it was,
Yep. Post-production, after the grueling shoot, editor Verna Fields pieced together the footage, often working with very limited daily reels during filming. The delayed schedule gave her and Spielberg time to refine the film structure and scares. They discovered that not seeing a shark clearly until late in the movie made those final battles far more impactful. The rough production turned into a polished edge-of-your-seat film that we have now. Moving on to special effects and animatronics. Creating the shark, because using a great white shark, a real one, was impossible, the production team built an animatronic shark. Actually, 3 sharks, as we said, 3 full sizes. The models were designed by Joe Alves and constructed by veteran special effects expert Bob Matty, famous for his giant squid in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Matty's team of around 40 technicians worked for months, which were around late 1973 to 74, to create the real-life sharks. They built a sea sled shark, a full shark model pulled through the water from underwater rails that its underside was open and it dragged up by a 300-foot cable. 2 platform sharks were made for close-ups, one built to show the shark's right side, while its left side mouth was open for mechanics, and the other showed its left side. These could be raised and lowered from special platforms beneath the water. Each shark could move jaws, eyes, and fins through hoses and electronic motors. The sharks were enormous, as we see in the film. The equipment collectively weighed around 12 tons, dude. That's 24,000 pounds. It took up to 14 operators to maneuver a shark, various parts in coordinated fashion whenever it appeared on camera. The crew affectionately named the mechanical shark Bruce, as we said, after Spielberg's lawyer. Spielberg's lawyer's name was Bruce. He was a shark. Despite Bruce's troublesome behavior during production, the finished models looked impressively menacing on films. And yes, they did. They totally did. Other key effects, production engineer Joe Evans didn't just design these sharks. He also prepared other practical effects. The Orca boat was 42 feet, and it was built. One was fully functional fishing vessel, and the second, named Orca 2, was built to sink on cue for the part with Quint. Orca 2 sank earlier than planned at one point, and the parts of the boat had to be salvaged and repaired. So, great job, it sunk, but apparently it sunk too early. For the attack effects, stunt woman Susan Backlini, who played the first victim, Chrissy, was rigged with underwater cables and harnesses for the violent thrashing in the opening scene. This practical stunt work essentially turning her into a human ragdoll. Special makeup effects were provided by grisly touches like a severed leg. The visuals were sparing but effective, as Spielberg limited on-screen blood to keep the suspension high. And that part, there's a lot of blood in this film. So he limited it, but how much did he limit it by? Because there's tons of blood in this film. For the finale, where Brody blows up the shark by shooting the air tank in the mouth, the team used a combination of animatronic shark and some old-fashioned pyrotechnics. They basically placed a replica of the shark's head with the tank that was heavily packed with explosives, and they got that big explosion. And then to supplement the mechanical sharks, the filmmakers hired renowned underwater cinematographers Ron and Valerie Taylor to film real great white sharks in Australia. They use a smaller scale shark cage and even a shorter stuntman to make actual great whites look gigantic on film. During the shooting, a real great white shark attacked an empty cage and got tangled, footage which was so astonishing that Spielberg rewrote the script to incorporate it. And so in the novel, Hooper dies in the shark cage, but because the real shark footage looked incredible with an empty smashed cage, they had Hooper survive by escaping, allowing the use of the real-life shark clips. These real moments are intercut with the animatronic Bruce in it. So you got some real-life shark attacking cages in there, which I thought was kind of cool.
That was cool.
But with that, Tom, let's get to your piece of the pie, the soundtrack, and the score, my friend.
Let's do it. All right. This film is composed by the great John Williams. He became a legendary composer with Spielberg. He had worked with Spielberg on the Sugarland Express. Since Jaws has worked with him lots and lots and lots, conducting a large orchestra. He often conducts legendary music for majority of his movies, and this one being one of the most famous. The famous two-noted theme that everybody is familiar with, the shark theme, some call it, on the piano was played by John Williams to Spielberg, and the director laughed. He thought it was a joke, actually due to its simplicity, but Williams was serious. And the two notes, played slowly or quickly or quietly or loudly, would signal the shark's approach. That's what was really cool, is that, you know, it's one of the most famous lines that when you hear the villain coming, every time you hear just those notes, it's about to hit. Very interesting on my own doing research for this. Right around the same time, John Williams' wife, Barbara Ruick, who was an actress, she passes away and dies of a brain hemorrhage while he's putting together the soundtrack to this movie. You know, you brought up earlier at the beginning of the show his age, you know, our age. He was our age around this time. He's 41, 42 years old. And I often think of like when's if me and you were composing the Jaws theme and we had this horrible tragedy. And think of just his career since then, to not give up. And honestly, the inspiration, you know, that Williams put through all this, you know, it mimics a heartbeat. The theme is an auditory embodiment for terror. I mean, when you really think about all of music and horror movies, I mean, you may have Friday the 13th, you have Halloween, but there isn't a whole lot of memorable performances like the one that John Williams does for this movie. The whole entire, actually, there's a lot of good musical little pieces in the movie. The little song that they sing when they're on the boat together, come on, that's one of the most memorable scenes in almost movie history. And honestly, again, just the music throughout, you know, you got, as we stated, you know, when she dies at the beginning, that eerie music that is playing, it's called, I guess they title it Chrissy's Death, which is honestly pretty kind of scary. And then you go through all of it. Crazy story is, we'll talk about it more when we talk about the scene breakdown, but the Indianapolis story, the music that's playing in the background, just really kind of eerie to the scene and what is happening. It was hugely acclaimed. What's crazy is that it, well, not really that crazy when you think about it, that it won the Academy Award for the Best Original Score, Golden Globe, BAFTA. Just honestly, it's one of the top 10 scores of all time. Critics recognize Williams' music. It amplified the suspense. Definitely all movies need good music. If it doesn't have a good music or a good soundtrack, it's just really going to be kind of wasted. So you think about that here, and you think of the legacy here. For 50 years, this soundtrack is memorable. You can't really go up to anyone and tell them what is the Jaws theme, and they can't do the dun dun dun. You know what I mean? It's very, very memorable.
Yeah, it's iconic. Jaws won 3 Oscars. So one, like you said, for its best soundtrack editing, I believe, and it won for did it win for best score, sound, and best film editing is what it won for. So
which was funny because like Spielberg said in the thing, like he was actually really like upset he didn't win at first, but then someone was like, "Come on, man!" And then he was like, "Yeah," and he knows that Cuckoo's Nest was a better. I mean, Cuckoo's Nest is we're not getting into that debate right now, but this again is just a great score that really wraps it up, and it deserved any other year. It could have cleaned. I mean, when you see movies these days win 13, 14 awards, this movie should have won that many.
It's crazy. Just going back to John Williams, I was looking him up while you were talking about the score. John Williams has been nominated for 49 Oscars. And he's won 5 of them.
Hey.
It's ridiculous, man.
That is very ridiculous.
It's just crazy. Like, and he's still pumping out music, man.
He is.
Yeah,
And I think he's in his 90s.
Yeah, he's 93.
And he doesn't look like he looks like he wants to slow down, which
no, he actually just did the well, his theme was used for Superman, the new film.
Can I make a dark joke? When he, like, let's say, sadly, knock on wood, he lives for another 10 years, but let's say, sadly, he passes away soon. Is it going to be something that we saw coming?
93 years old. Yeah, hell yeah.
You got to say, but he looks like he's ready to go for another 15 years. That's what makes it crazy.
Hey, man, sometimes work keeps people alive, man.
That is true.
To speak of probably one of my favorite quotes from a movie that's been trashed by critics is Rocky V when Mickey tells him nature's smarter than people. It takes away your friends and it takes away your stuff you do because it basically wants you to die. And his passion for what he's doing isn't taken away, so maybe he might continue going. You never know.
See, like if we had like the ultimate like a penguin lair where we got to do our work. See, I love to I would have stuff on in the background and I could work all day with movies on in the background. Like I need to keep. It's hard for me now to just sit and with my feet and stare like this and not be thinking about one of our podcasts or what movies we want to do. So I definitely understand that John Williams work ethic.
Yes, sir. But that is our development section. Are you ready to get into our breakdown, my friend?
Let's break it down.
See the arc? He starts down here. He ends up here. Where's my arc, Paulie?
So with this breakdown, we usually go through the whole film. We are going to go through the film, but we're just going to go through 16 iconic scenes. Of course, there could be more, but we're going to go through 16 iconic scenes on this show. And this is going to be mostly a video clip montage. So if you are listening on the podcast, don't worry. I do have a little description of what's going on. But if you're watching, it's better to watch and check it out on the YouTubes. But with that tone, let's go with our first scene, which is the introduction of Cassie. Chrissy. So, like we explained earlier, the film's first scene immediately grips the audience. As Chrissy Watkins goes for a midnight swim, we think it's all nice and lovely. And then something pulls her. And it's shot from the shark's point of view, and John Williams' score comes through as it's beginning to build. And often, people get crazy, bad vibes about this. It's been compared to the Psycho shower scene of where she just gets bit, We talked about how she was getting pulled left to right like a rag doll, with harness around her. Not a glimpse of the shark is seen during this tone. And of course, they wanted a less is more approach here. But watching it, it basically like just bust through the damn door and says, "This is what kind of movie you're gonna see. We're gonna kill somebody off right away," which is ridiculous. I know we've seen like movies like Anaconda has like kind of like the more beginning scene where you don't see the snake and you see like Danny Trejo run for his life. I can't help but think that it was kind of influenced by Jaws because you didn't see Jaws, but this kind of hit more because even with the music before the music plays, just her getting like going side to side and screaming. Just imagine how much pain she was in from getting bitten by the shark.
I am the more I watch a new movie, the more I'm in love with older camera work, the way it looks. Like just in that clip, you put the way the water looks, the way she looks in the water, you feel it feels real. Whereas like these new movies, like even Happy Gilmore 2 versus Happy Gilmore 1, the sheen on these new cameras, it's like almost too bright. Where it's like there's something about it that makes it feel like you're right there in the scene with her while she's swimming.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And this shot was actually filmed in the daytime. And it was made, yeah, it was filmed in the daylight and processed to appear as night, which is kind of crazy because when I was doing this breakdown, this scene looked a little worse on VHS copies, of course, because of the technology. And now with the more modern updates to the restorations of the film, it makes it look clearer. Like the scene I just played is actually from a 4K aspect of it, so that's why it looks so great. Which you can really see it, and like I watched the film today in 4K, and it's just magnificent. If we ever get a penguin lair, we're gonna play this on fucking surround sound around us. It's a great film to watch. Which I'm really happy. I think I'm gonna go see this in theaters when it comes out around here.
Just very, very iconic. Just an iconic beginning. Like honestly, we just mentioned Psycho. It's like that kind of top iconic beginnings in a movie.
Yeah, and this is like when people think of like opening scenes that kind of like affected them. Chrissy's swimming and horrifying demise, probably at the top of the list for some people who've watched horror movies. That's what. So it sticks out there. Another scene that sticks out is the beach attack. And oh my goodness, man, this one affected me as a kid. Just from that part, as we see, it's a 4th of July, people are swimming, everybody's having fun on the beach, and we see Alex, and basically he's swimming on his little, I think he's on like a little raft, and you see the music starts playing, you see from the perspective of the shark looking up at his legs, and you just see him go down, and then you see him in the shark's mouth, and all this blood just pouring around him, which is ridiculous. It's like the fact that a shark or even something was happening to a child on a film is what affected me like really bad as a kid. Like I felt like I was like, holy crap, it ate a kid, you know? Yeah, I mean now like gore and everything, people are like, oh, but back then you're like, holy shit, a kid got killed. You know, it was something that we weren't normally seeing. You know, the kids are always either ones that lived or, you know, if they died kind of like in Pet Cemetery where they got shot. You know, they went and sat down. You know, nothing too graphic or gruesome. But yeah. I love Jack's thing. His mom,
I know, 30. Mom could be 30, could be 50.
Yeah, and she was a local actress from the community theater scene. She did a really good job. Spielberg employed a famous Zolly zoom on Schneider's face, which is the most one of the most iconic shots when he sees him getting killed in the water, and like it zooms up to his face to see like, which, you know, whenever you see a montage of horror films, I think I even use it for 31 Days of Horror in the opening montage. You see him like it's there. It's crazy, man. Dozens of extras were listed to play happy beachgoers, as we said. And then like when the shark attacks, they go ape shit. And the music, man, the music adds everything. How did this scene affect you, Tone?
Very, again, you said it, like, when I went to me and Katie went to California, I mean, you're still to this day, I mean, I love California, and you won't see me put more than my feet in the water for this movie. I mean, I either take it way too seriously or, I mean, sharks really, that's how much this movie impacted me because again, um, you don't want to be out. You don't, but then again, in this movie, they didn't know anything about a shark like this. So it's like not like in the movie Jaws, they had any kind of inkling as those kids were out there swimming that there was like some other shark out there that they knew of. It was like this is the introduction to big sharks in the world of that they lived in.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Probably the most ridiculous part about this whole scene is this spawned food. A sandwich in particular. Lee Farrow, who was the actress that played Mrs. Kittner, went to a restaurant in Martha's Vineyard in Eggertown, Massachusetts. She saw on the menu there was an Alex Kittner sandwich, and what it was is it's a panini style sandwich made with ciabatta bread, olive oil, balsamic vinegar, garlic, Dijon mustard, baby spinach, marinated artichoke hearts, roasted red peppers, prosciutto, basil, mozzarella, and red onion. This sounds like a really, really bomb sandwich, okay? She was with her family and she saw that and she laughed. And of course, she ordered it. And they were telling the waitress, oh, yeah, she was Mrs. Kittner in the film. Well, long and behold, they're like, oh, let's go get the owner. And it turned out to be Jeffrey Voorhees, who played Alex.
Right.
So he owned the place. And that's why he named the sandwich after his character.
Right.
Eventually he sold the place, but that's cool, kind of cool that they had a sandwich. Mailman Jack says, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I saw this movie in theater and was a little too young. The light stayed on that night. Hey man, I feel you. Mailman Jack. This part affected me it still affects me to this day. I don't know, when something happens to like a kid in a film, I kind of like it makes me queasy, and it should. That's why Sinister for me, although great films, are kind of hard for me to watch.
The first Sinister was scary.
Yeah, it's just, but yeah, man, that's the great thing about this film. It just brings out all those crazy emotions, and of course, the shark is this death of this kid. Of course, the town's gonna go apeshit crazy, and probably another iconic scene is the first introduction of Quint, and it's at the town hall meeting. That part always cracks me up because the town people are all like, they're all distressed. They're like trying to get the officials all together. They're arguing about closing the beaches. Are we going to close the beaches? Are we going to close the beaches? And they're like going, doing basically what people do in panic. And you just hear the nails on the chalkboard from Quint with a picture of a shark on the chalkboard. And then when everybody looks at him, he just eats a chip, which always made me laugh. What'd you think of this scene, Tone?
I mean, Quint is, what a better introduction. What you can't find a better introduction than that one for him in this movie. Because even when you're showing it there, and he's like, they're all like getting, and then you just hear the nails, and everyone's face is like, ee! And then he's like behind them or whatever.
Yeah.
Shaw is a larger than life actor that will always be remembered for roles like this one.
Not as horrifying when I saw the reprise of The Exorcist, but scary nonetheless. Gotta love your older sisters dragging their baby bro to inappropriate movies. Yes, sir. I took my brother to a lot of scary movies. That's the big brother, big sister code, man. You gotta take the little kids to scary movies.
Yeah. Took my sister Freddy versus Jason.
Place your bets. I remember that part from the trailer. That was cracking me up. And she'd be like, place your bets.
Good.
Quint gave a great little monologue here saying, y'all know me. Know how I earn a living. His pattern of speech is so great in this film. I wanted to play that part. It just took too long. I was afraid of copyright. He matter of factly offers to kill the shark for $10K for me by myself. And this mix a lot of dark humor because they offer him 3 and he's like, oh no, it's too low for a bounty. It kind of gives him that Captain Ahab kind of like aura to him, and I think there's like I said, there's a lot of Moby Dick in Captain Ahab's character in Quint. Also, like the extras in the scene were real Martha Vineyard locals, many of whom did not know how to act, and when looking mystified or skeptical, they really didn't do a great job. And the chalkboard itself became a bit of a movie lore. Spielberg joked that he wanted the scratch to be as unbearable as shark attacks. It worked. Viewers always mention this introduction when recalling Quint. It entered pop culture, this scene. For any moment someone really wants a room's attention, it's perfectly introduced a character who would dominate the film's second half. And I think of that too, because Freddy Krueger, right, even though it's on the pipes, it still introduces him. Like that's one of the first glimpses we get of him, is with the pipes. And then eventually, he does a little joke with the guy with the hearing aid when he scratches the chalkboard like crazy when he's a little more goofy. But it's in other movies too. I mean, you could think of other movies where they use the scratches on nails on chalkboard to get people to think about it. I wonder if this is where I don't know if this is where the term came from, nails on the chalkboard. But I have to look that up and get back to you guys. One of the few cultural things I didn't check out. But it's nonetheless a very iconic scene. Quint just shows he's a badass in this scene. I love Quint for everything Quint does, even though he's batshit crazy. He's like my favorite character in this film. He's just awesome. But moving on to our next scene, and folks, we're only through the first 30 minutes. This scene right here is at the 35-minute mark. So we got all these people getting killed. These shark attacks are happening. And you know what? They think they found the real shark. They think they caught him. They caught a tiger shark, but Hooper is not convinced.
Now, I'm not saying that this is not the shark. It probably is, Martin. It probably is. It's a man-eater. It's extremely rare for these waters. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim.
And the reason this happens is because they have a $3,000 bounty out, Tony. They want to get this shark out of here, so a lot of people are coming to the town to catch just about everything. One of the famous lines from here, a what? Oceanographer Matt Hooper immediately identifies the catch as a tiger shark. A nearby fisherman, baffled, and echoes a what in a thick accent. That unscripted reaction by actor and local Craig Kingsbury got a big laugh from the audience and became a fan favorite quote, lightening the mood briefly. It highlights how little Amity's locals actually know about sharks, despite their enthusiasm to kill one, which I thought was hilarious. The production used a real dead tiger shark for this scene, shipped in from Florida for a dock scenes. It was starting to decompose and smelled awful, forcing actors to endure the stench while filming the crowd close-ups. Oof, puts a banana in the mouth. Dreyfuss' disgusted expressions while examining the carcass weren't acting at all. The line, he ate a rock too, and other ad-lib local reactions added authenticity to the media circus vibe Spielberg wanted. What do you think about the scene, Tone?
Crazy scene, and the fact of just the way everyone. I always remember just like my dad laughing a lot because like these guys are all like, yeah, we got him, and they're like hanging him up, and like, isn't it Brody who says like, I don't want his body parts all over the the way he says that or whatever. I thought was a really good way to describe what would happen, because they're like, cut him open. You don't know what's gonna like pour out of him or whatever, but very, very I just always found it very interesting that all these meatheads in the town were like trying to like catch him or whatever. Like, come on.
It's kind of funny, like cut it open, and like Hooper was like that was like kind of like ugh. But in Jaws 2, he wanted to cut the damn shark open. Remember, he's like, cut the shark open. Adam gives us an answer on nails on a chalkboard. Adam, one of the co-hosts of the James Bond deep dives you do. Nails on a chalkboard metaphor was around long before this film. They did a great job integrating it into this film, though. Just a perfect way to introduce an eccentric character. Yes, thank you, Adam. I didn't know if that was introduced here or not. but thank you. Again, just ridiculous, and of course, it shows like the red herring, I guess, or like the the false sense of hope that we got him. I remember they did this with like a giant squid movie where they found like a dead giant squid, and they're like, "Oh, it's dead," and then we find out it was just a baby that just couldn't make it, and the real big squid was alive and killing people still. So it kind of gives you that false hope. But then again, this is that 35 minutes into the film. So if this film was only 35 minutes long, you'd be like, what the hell? you know? But, speaking of Mrs. Kenter, we have her do a really, really good emotional scene where she confronts Brody.
You knew there was a shark out there. You knew it was dangerous.
Yeah, that line, man, you knew it was dangerous, but you let people go on swimming anyway. The pain in her face she did a really good job there, and she slaps him. And the crazy thing is, Brody's getting blamed for this, but in reality, he wanted to close the beaches. It was the fucking mayor who's like, no, we can't be saying there's a shark around here. It's 4th of July weekend. The slaps she gives him took 17 takes. She struck Roy Scheider for real in take after take because she wasn't familiar with pulling a slap. They did it around 17 times, and Scheider's face was visibly red and sore by the end. He later joked she had no control. It hurt like hell. And indeed, he needed a chiropractor afterward. Ever the pro, Scheider insisted on making it authentic. He told the crew it was worth the pain to get the most powerful moment of the film out there. And would you say this is probably the most powerful moment of the film?
It is. I also though always found I found her like, I don't want to say cheat. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have been like as a kid. Like I found it to be like, I don't know. I don't know what to say because I don't want to sound heartless. Like I found
heartless son of a bitch.
I found her to be kind of cheesy a little bit. Also because like Mailman Jack says, is she 30? Is she 50? Like, is she 50? Is she, how old is this character supposed to be as this mother? I don't know, but that's totally different. It's a sad part. You know what I mean? She lost her son.
Speaking of like, is she 30? Is she 50? Have you seen pictures of people in their 30s in the 80s compared to people in their 30s now?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to bring you to. Like, do I look the same age as Roy Scheider in Jaws?
You look younger.
But we're the same age. So like, it's crazy, it's crazy to really think about that, that we look this age, but was
it because of the way they dress, or was it just like the stresses of life?
I think it could be the stresses of life or unhealth. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Smoking caused it.
It could be.
I'm not mad.
You could say like, Roy Scheider, like, okay, he's, he was the health nut or whatnot. But then again, he was always out in the sun, but then he got skin cancer. That's how he died. So it's like, did the sun do it? You just don't really know sometimes where it all comes from genetics.
That's crazy, son. Carl Gottlieb, who was the screenwriter, said this was his favorite scene from the movie. Apparently in theaters when this was released, you couldn't hear a pin drop after the slap. It was a moment of silence and shame. Interesting, many local islanders later approached Lee Farrell, telling her the scene made her cry. Damn, Tony, she did like the scene of her life, and you're saying she was horrible.
Well, can I ask you a question? If it was the scene of her life, can you name me 3 other movies she was in?
I probably none, because...
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, most people, even someone who's like a good actress on their first movie would be like, we need her back. She's good. She's a Meryl Streep. No, she did the part, I guess. She serviced it, but I don't know. I don't want to go.
Have there ever been any other like big actresses or actors that have played in films that did one like remarkable performance and never appeared again?
Not to the point of this, really, when you think about it. Like, I'll have to do some research. But I think what he did, which was great, which I give him a lot of credit, was he was going for the local feel. And I think that's what worked here, using that local feel.
Adam says, baby Mrs. Kittner was 60, but adopted Alex. Yeah, maybe.
70. Why not 80? Been 80.
It kind of looks like if you guys ever watched the show Doug, the cartoon, she kind of looks like Doug Funny's
Well,
mom.
let's put it. Is that supposed to be the husband in the back there?
Yeah, he's old as shit.
You know what I mean? Like, so maybe Adam could be onto something. And I would go with 60.
Or
I'd go to
I mean,
70.
she says it's her son, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Alex's mom had him super early and left, and she basically as the grandparents raising him. We're doing
All right. Let's keep going.
Moving on to the next scene, we have the pier incident, which I always find hilarious. These two fishermen are trying to catch him with some bait, and then some crazy stuff happens. The way that guy just slides down, it always made me laugh. Two local fishermen venture out to a rickety pier at night, hoping to catch the shark with a chain, a giant hook, and a wife's holiday roast as bait. What begins as a bit of comic relief, the men banter about splitting the reward, and one casually quipes, "Can we go home now?" Quickly it escalates as the shark bites the damn thing and pulls down the whole tier. It's unknown what is doing this again, but it's a great scene showing that the shark does not mess around. You see the people get pulled in there. I can't remember. Do these people die? I don't think they die, right? They just swim away.
Yeah.
Because Jaws eats the food. But it's just crazy. Like, it turns into like a happy, funny, like goofy moment into like, don't mess around with this guy. He's not, the shark doesn't want to be messed around with. He'll just eat your food.
I was always kind of just, and I know this is me overthinking this, but like, how did the shark get, it's that big, but it got that close to where the dock was, like, to get the food? Like,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
has to be like, I mean, like, some of those areas where that shark was, it had to have to at least be 25 plus feet deep for the shark not to be popping out of the water being as big as it was. So like that's because there's the one scene where they're in the marina at the beginning, and it literally's mouth comes up like this.
Yeah.
So like, how deep is some of these areas where they're at? But that's again
kind of like the what do you call it, where Nessie is. the Loch Ness monster. You know, like how deep is the Loch Ness? Even though they drilled, they found holes, and
it's true.
It's where Nessie is. Like Jaws might be friends with Nessie.
Jaws and Nessie. It's good. Good
Well, we never see the shark itself. Instead of one broken half of the pier is dragged, and their chains creaking. This is a memorable shot. It made audience hair stand. And begins coming back towards the second fisherman, who's floundering in the water on it. Basically, this scene was to make the hunter become the hunted. I always thought these guys were drunk, which is probably why they didn't see the shark. And it probably explains why this happened. You know, they were just wasted. It was a short interlude. Fans consider the pier incident a hidden gem of Jaws. Again, Spielberg kind of mixed in a little humor with horror here, and I think he's known for doing that in his other scenes, like humor somewhere in his movies to kind of lighten the mood, even if it's a serious film. Even in Schindler's List, there's a little humor in it, in certain aspects. But iconic scene. Speaking of another iconic scene, Tone, is the one with Ben Gardner's boat. It's probably one of the most talked about scenes or mentioned scenes when we talk about like horror and gore or early gore, and that's because of this part. The way he looks at his head and just like, well, there's like, I don't know, like little bugs or worms or something in his eye or something in there. Hooper and Brody take a boat out to search for the real shark. They come upon a drifting, half-sunken fisherman's vessel belonging to Ben Gardner, one of the locals who have been hunting the shark. The eerie scene is set with a mist of water and sense of dread as Hooper dons scuba gear and he goes under there. Again, the tension of him just swimming around. Then he goes to find the boat broken. And he looks inside, and apparently, the shark pretty much ate all of Ben Gardner except the top of his head. But I've seen this like for Monster Vision. This scene comes up in the monologue, like the little montage for Monster Vision. Again, a whole lot of horror montages that comes up. Tone, what do you think about it?
Again, very very satisfying in the scary department. I mean, I can imagine everyone sitting in the movie theaters when that first came out and jump scared.
Yeah, and this is considered one of the best jump scares in movie history, apparently by a lot of people. Remarkably, this shock wasn't in the original shoot. After early test screenings, Spielberg felt this film needed one more big scare, and with the studio unwilling to fund more location funding, Spielberg paid out of his own pocket to reshoot this bit in editor Verma Field's own swimming pool in Los Angeles. They darkened the pool, added a foggy backdrop, and poured milk in the water to mimic murky seawater. A special effects tech pushed a latex dummy head of Bed Gardner through a fake blowhole, while stuntman, standing in Hooper's spot, shined a light. The result was so realistic and frightening that Universal reimbursed Spielberg. The executives themselves jumped when they saw it and realized it. Verna Fields was so great in editing. She won an Oscar for this, as we mentioned earlier. Adam says, I still demand to know how the mayor got reelected. In these political times, Adam, I think you know how he got elected. It's crazy that Spielberg paid for this, dude. He paid out of his own pocket.
It's crazy.
So with Verna Fields winning this, the preview screening, she watched an entire audience launch out of their chairs in unison when Gardner's face appeared. I think the sound, the screeching sound, kind of freaks the shit out of you more than the head.
It does.
Yeah. She and Spielberg even snuck into public showings just to watch them people jump out of their seats in horror. Which is kind of funny. A very iconic scene in itself. Moving on to the hour mark, we are at the pond attack, and this poor guy in the pond, man, this is the scene you were talking about, Tom.
Yeah, this is the one. It's my favorite scene.
You can see
that scares me.
Yeah, you can see the outline of the shark. Like you could see it, but you really can't see it. It's still blurry and murky from the water, and it's underneath the guy. This centerpiece sequence occurs on Independence Day with beaches packed despite the recent scares. Spielberg masterfully orchestrates a two-stage terror here. First, a false alarm comes. The boys pranking the shark, inciting mass hysteria, and the swimmers and lifeguards stampede ashore, and then they get pissed off. You get a moment of relief there, and then as the prank is revealed, there's people are mad, but they're relieved. And almost immediately the real shark's like, okay, I'm gonna come through. And we see Brody's son Michael is floating, and the sudden shift from a false alarm to real happens as he sees this guy get pulled off the was he on a surfboard?
I think he was like in a little, wasn't he like in a little boat?
Yeah, a little boat. He's in a canoe. He's in a canoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just grabs him by the leg, and oh man. He's knocked into the water as the shark glides past Michael in a haunting above and below water shot we just saw, which is ridiculous. We witnessed the silhouette of the shark, which I thought was awesomely done. And then we see, Michael just looking on in horror. The crazy thing is, Eagle Eye fans noticed a continuity goof. The man was barefoot in the boat, but the detached sports leg had a sneaker in it when the shark bit him. So Spielberg kind of messed up on that one. Again, this scene was filmed with a bunch of extras and careful direction. Spielberg had the extras enter the water in stages, hesitant at first. The mayor practically forces a family to swim to make people feel better. This mayor is such a dick in this film. Then full-on enjoyment, then utter panic. Multiple cameras were captured, rush of people fleeing, and then, screaming. Stuntman and bit part actor Ted Grossman played the man on the boat, performing the fall on thrashing. The famous shot of the disemboweled leg was a practical effect so convincing it still makes viewers gasp today. Behind the scene nugget for this, the terrified reactions of Brody's younger son, Sean, screaming on shore was pretty real. During filming an earlier beach scene where Scheider improvising snatched the child actor Jay Miller off the ground, unexpectedly scaring him into tears. Spielberg later slightly edited this genuine crying shot into the sequence to heighten the emotional impact after Michael is rescued. Pretty brilliant stuff there, man.
Definitely. Such a great scene.
Yeah, just again, I cannot reiterate how crazy it is on the shark. You just see the shark a little bit, and then you're like, holy shit, there it is. And then like the guy just gets his leg ripped off, which is crazy. But moving on to the hour and 20-minute mark, so Quint and Hooper and Shaw decided to go after this shark and take him out. We probably get one of the most iconic scenes and quotes here, and we talked about a little earlier, which is you're gonna need a bigger boat. But my favorite part of this scene is not the actual line, it's actually what preceded it, which is this.
Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit.
The way he jumps up, like holy, he probably shit his pants right there, dude. He had to. Out of the Orca, with Brody begrudgingly chumming fish guts into the sea, the great white makes its first clear appearance, and that scene always like stood out to me. Real great job with doing this. It's just crazy how he just stands up in shock. It's now legendary shot. The 25-foot shark rises slightly behind Brody's shoulder, hulking, and it's unbelievable. His expression, his eyes widening, stiffening. And then he goes inside and tells Quint the famous line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." And it was ad lib. We talked about that earlier. It wasn't in the script, and it was like a joke behind them. This sequence was one of the first successful tests of the fully mechanical shark, Bruce. So Bruce did his job here. Way to go, Bruce. Due to all the woes I had, and yes, Adam, many were due to production setbacks. We talked about it earlier. But yeah, he was very creative, and he is frugal with his stuff. Audiences love this scene, of course, and they would scream when they saw it because you actually saw it, like that buildup of the tension, man. The tension of not seeing it fully, and now you finally see what it looks like. It was awesome when I first saw it, right?
Very awesome. I mean, it's definitely, again, you're just going to keep saying it throughout the whole movie. Another iconic scene.
Yeah, there's so many iconic scenes in this film. So many. This whole next 3 scenes we're going to go through are all within the first, like the next 8 minutes and the hour and 25-minute mark. And it's basically the 3 of the actors sitting around. Not much, there's not much appearance of the shark until later, but this next one I really like because it kind of shows a little bit more of the background of the actors and like Robert Shaw and whatnot. And it's the comparing scars.
That's the thresher. You see that? Chief, thresher's tail.
Thresher?
It's a shark.
They're basically, after a day of shark hunting, it's getting dark. Quint, Brody, and Hooper go down into the orca's cabin. And it's kind of quiet at first, and then they begin, drinking, and it becomes funny of them like showing their masculinity, showing their sharks. Of course, Quint is showing his tiger shark bites. Hooper's showing his, and Brody's just kind of sitting back there, laughing and watching them. It's jovial. It kind of seems like they're getting, they're having like a good time, even though they're trying to hunt something horrible. It's a kind of an iconic scene there because it shows the chemistry between the actors, and I thought it was really, really done well here. We then hear about Mary Ellen Moffat. She broke my heart. Hooper points to a small scar on his chest and drops the one-liner implying a woman named Mary Ellen left him with an emotional wound. It plays perfectly here because like they laugh about it. Again, it's showing they can be sweet and like it gives them more roundness to her character. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, it's again Spielberg showing the a little bit more human compassion in these characters.
Yeah, and a lot of fans that watch the film say this is probably one of their favorite parts of the film that doesn't have a shark in it. Going along with this, and this is a sequence, the next scene that goes along with this, I think is done masterfully well too, and it's the USS Indianapolis monologue that Robert Shaw gives.
The way to go home.
Wrong one. That was the way to go home song.
The first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer. You know that when you're in the water, Chief. You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail.
You ever see a shark's eyes? It's dog's eyes. Quint grows solemn and recounts the true story of the USS Indianapolis, the World War II cruiser that delivered the Hiroshima bomb and was sunk by a Japanese sub, leaving thousands of sailors in shark-infested waters. Robert Shaw delivers the monologue in a low, gravely tone that mesmerizes audiences. He describes the horror of men being picked off by sharks, averaging 6 an hour, and he describes the horror of men dying, like again the eerie thing of turning their eyes like doll's eyes. I always thought he said dog's eyes, but it's doll's eyes. When they lifelessly roll back, the other characters and the viewers sit in rapt silence, like sitting there like horrified at what they're hearing. The speech was originally not intended to be this long or as detailed. In fact, Shaw helped shape it. Screenwriter Howard Sackler and writer John Millis drafted versions of it, but Shaw, a playwright in his own right, rewrote the portions the night before filming to make it more authentic. And determined to get it right, Shaw attempted one take after initially having a few drinks, arguing Quint would be a bit drunk. The first try was a fiasco. He was too inebriated, and the take was unusable. Ashamed, Shaw called Spielberg late that night, apologized, and asked for another chance. The next day, completely sober, he delivered a monologue in a couple of takes flawlessly. What ended up on the film is essentially a composite of 2 takes. It's often cited as one of the greatest monologues in film history. Yes, and that's what Adam just said. I totally agree. What do you think?
Watching it this week and really all the lights were turned down low and just listening to them tell the tale. You really honestly, I can close my eyes and can feel being one of those people on the USS in the water, the way he described it. I mean, did a great job, man. Really great job.
Yeah, and since the Indianapolis was a real incident, though classified until 1960, many people never heard of it. This film came out in 75, so it was about 15 years later. And Shaw's, talking about it and being educated about it, it horrified them, because he's recanting, he's talking. It's kind of like PTSD, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's talking about it, and that's probably why Quint's character is the way he is. A lot to do with that's probably what drove him to hunt sharks in the first place.
That is. That's what I got from that scene was that he was like, it sticks with you so much that now it's become a part of him that he's now out there hunting.
Yep. And the best part about this whole sequence of events is they go from this scene to them singing "Show Me the Way to Go Home."
The way to go home.
Started off by Hooper, and they start singing it, and Quint, of course, completely drunk off his ass, just sits there and smiles, and then starts singing, and they joins in, and they all start singing like a little heartwarming. And then when that happens, the fucking shark attacks. The shark's like, ah, and it terrifies them because they're in the dark. And if you've ever seen pictures or videos of people at sea, it's completely black. You're not gonna see anything. Even if you have a light, it's basically it's swallowed up by the darkness. It's it leads you, it builds up happiness, and then automatically boom, now we're in the shit again. It's again building suspense without sound. What do you think about this scene, Tone?
Again, as you just stated, build suspense without sound. I like that.
Yeah, and the timing of the actor's song and the stunt had to be precise. Spielberg actually had them sing longer than needed, then edited the footage to find the perfect interruption point. Cast and crew have reminisced that they knew the aliens would be totally unprepared. We set them up with the song to knock them down with the scare. Actor Richard Dreyfuss once said, "The actors' real drinking camaraderie carried straight into their panic, scrambling when the fake shark hit, making it feel more authentic." And I think it's exactly what it did. It just throws you off the hook. But I think as we've gotten older and watched more horror films, we kind of expect something bad to happen now. But I'm saying
no,
it was something a new, oh shit. Yeah. The way he built it up was so great. Spielberg, I rag on Spielberg sometimes. I don't personally think he's he's one of the greatest directors. I some of his newer movies I'm not really big fans of, but like just stuff like this, like he was a trendsetter, man. Like he was a trailblazer, no doubt, and I'll never say he wasn't. But as we continue here, you know, they're surviving the night and they're facing the shark again. They attach a second barrel to hunt the shark with a harpoon shot, and they think they see two barrels, and they see the beast. It keeps surfacing, so they're shooting it with the harpoon to know where it's at. And they're astonished. The shark pulls both the barrels underwater with ease. This visually bright barrel stocking and like going under. It's like, what the hell? This shark is super strong. And during this whole thing, Quint kind of gets like a little crazy, man. He's seeing what's going on, and he's kind of, I guess he's going back into his like PTSD or something happens, because at this time the sheriff's the Brody's trying to go call for help, and Quint's like, "No, we ain't having none of that."
This is New York, or do you?
Excuse me, Chief.
The space coming in.
Yeah. And it's because the shark is starting to get tired. Quint realizes that because it's going, even though it's pulling, like it's using all its strength to pull the barrels down, it's still getting tired. And Quint tells him, "No cause, we're fishing this," meaning that he wanted all the glory for this. And this pisses off Brody as he's like, what does he tell him? Like, you're a character or something, Quint? He like yells at him. He's yelling at him. And like, I just love the fact that while he's banging on the radio with the bat, Richard Dreyfuss is looking through the window. And then of course he goes, "Oh, yoo-hoo." And then they're trying to outpace the shark at this time, and basically the engine's going out, it's getting smoked, so it's foreshadowing, that Hooper warned Quint not to run it so hot, the damn engine, and now the engine's failing now because of Quint's running it hot. So they're basically making it worse for themselves. Behind the scenes, though, the yellow barrels became a symbol of Jaws because the mechanical shark often malfunctioned. Spielberg leaned on the barrels to imply the shark's presence, as we stated earlier. They were maneuvered with underwater cables, and the crew performed a sort of choreography to get them to pop under or bob just so often. The effect worked so brilliantly, an audience reported that even years later, seeing a lone yellow barrel can give them a little chill, which I totally agree. Just a crazy scene, Tone.
It was.
Well, as this is going on at the 1 hour and 50-minute mark, Hooper's like, "Let me go down there and shoot the son of a bitch with a harpoon."
Jeez.
Yep, it's Ahab's obsession. That's why I say he has Ahab moment for Quint there. Let's go down there and shoot. And I think this scene is really cool too. When Hooper is down in the cage, we see the shark come right behind him. And that's where Spielberg was inspired by the real sharks and the movie scene that we mentioned earlier. Hooper got out and was safe, but the cage was ruined and he dropped the harpoon. Of course, Hooper was supposed to die as he did in the book. Yeah, you're totally right. "I'll never put on a life preserver again," is what Quint said. It's foreshadowing. But this scene right here, the shark just bangs the cage. It cracked me up because Richard Dreyfuss just runs out. But it's really cool how you see the big mechanical shark or a big shark hit it, and then you see the real footage of the sharks added in there. What do you think about this scene?
Again, very cool. Again, thought it was crazy going underwater, but memorable. I mean, again, he's trying to get down there to face it.
It's crazy. Like to me, it's just like, what the hell is he thinking? Oh, the shark's eating me. Let me go underwater in the cage. Like, I don't know, man. That part just always like threw me off. Like, what is wrong with you? Then probably to the most graphic scene, the orca nearly submerged, and listing the deck tilts steeply as they're trying to pull out the cage, and Quint slides straight into the jaws of the great white shark. And man, he gets like eaten, man. Like I couldn't show the rest of it because it's pretty gory, but like the fact when Jaws is moving around with him in his mouth and blood just pouring out of Quint's mouth, it's just ridiculous. The shark half on the deck chomps down on Quint's torso as he screams and spits blood. Audiences in 1975 were stunned to see a major character meet such a gory end. This film was PG-13, by the way. The level of violence was extraordinary. Blood pours from Quint's mouth as he's gnashing at the shark with his machete in vain. He's like pissed, trying to stab him still. It was like when I saw Quint die, I'm like, fuck, Quint's dead. Like I didn't want him to die. But the crazy thing is Robert Shaw performed much of the sequence on the set. And a giant prosthetic shark mouth was clamped onto him with the cleaver edited to show the creature with a cleaver editing to show the creature thrashing. His blood spitting was achieved with squibs and pumps. And in fact, the first take was so over the top with fake blood spraying that Spielberg had to tone it down. Legend has it the initial cut made some crew laugh at how excessive it was. And they downed it to avoid unintentional campiness. Still, it's really graphic, man. It
sticks with you. What I thought was always really cool is after Quint is eaten and everything, Spielberg went far enough to put like still meat hanging off of Jaws's teeth when he goes to shoot him or whatever. Like you still see pieces of Quint inside Jaws's mouth. I thought that was pretty.
Quint was around to the end.
Yeah, so he was there till the end, just not alive.
Yeah, it freaked me out like how he died because Quint, like I said, Quint was my favorite character, and I was like, holy shit, Quint's dead. And the way he died, man, he died the gruesome of all of them because it bit down his leg and it basically ate him alive. Or it showed what it did to the other ones, I guess. The other victims. Yeah, and his scream and the biting of his bones breaking always was like, wow, it's ridiculous. But as we go on, the boat gets taken down, and it's just Brody versus the shark because Hooper's knocked out. In the last stand, the shark has a tank in its mouth, and I always love this last line from Brody.
Smile, you son of a...
As he blows him up, as he shoots the smile, you son of a... And he shoots him as he fires a bullet. Boom, the tank explodes. And again, we said this was with pyro. They put in a shark's mouth. It was achieved with practical effects. The audience in a rare thriller is such an upbeat note of victory. They were cheering, and like when he died, which I thought was hilarious. It's always great when you see like an audience cheer for like something to happen. Like I've been part of those moments. Believe it or not, it was that like one of the ones I can remember was Rush Hour. When Rush Hour ended, everybody started clapping and was saying how great it was. It's really, really cool to be part of those moments.
It is, it's a huge part. It's kind of like when the Death Star blows up. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is great! This is cool! We're not going to have any sequels, never for this movie."
And the funny thing is, in truth, shooting a scuba tank wouldn't cause a massive explosion.
No.
But Jaws made it believable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so cool. What are you going to do? Argue of its coolness? Like, it's cool, man.
And the writer of the book, Benchley, said, yeah, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. He argued so much they kicked him off the set.
Get out of here.
Yeah, yet decades later, people still quote this ending line and fist pump with the shark when the shark blows up to this day. It just shows that Spielberg knew what he was doing. He had to give a definite kill for the audience, And as the bloodied water settles, Hooper resurfaces. Hooray, he survived. And Brody's relieved. Ha ha! I always thought it was funny too. He's like, ha ha! It's just ridiculous. The scene ensured audiences left the theater exhilarated and likely humming the Dun Dun song as they left. Great ending to a film.
The one thing I always had at the ending, though, is like they're like paddling away, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't you be scared shitless after you just killed this huge Jaws that now you're just feet are dangling in the water? I'd be like, ah!
Yeah, what if there's another one?
That's what I thought. Well, there's 4 more. No, I'm just kidding, because the sequel.
Oh, we'll talk about that. But yeah, man.
Good movie.
Great movie. It's iconic. 50 years, man. 50 years and still scaring the shit out of people.
Crazy.
That's something hard to do, man.
Sure is.
That was our breakdown, Tone. Anything that you think we missed in terms of scenes that we didn't go over that you wanted to mention?
Robert Shaw rules.
He does. Quint's the man. Jiffy. You want to hear how the critics thought of it, man?
Let's do it.
Cool. Let's go into the critics.
You know that fat cocksucker says I look like the Shah of Iran?
Who does? Tony. I never got that at all.
So in terms of budget and box office, Jaws was produced on a budget of about $9 million in 1975, which overruns pushed the actual spending closer to about $12 million, roughly 300% over budget. In today's terms, that would be around $40 million. A modest for a blockbuster. And domestically, on its initial 1975 release, Jaws grossed $260 million in the US and Canada. The first film ever to top $100 million at the box office. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $1.5 billion in today's dollars. It spent 14 weeks at number one and became the highest grossing film up to that time until this film called Star Wars surpassed it. Worldwide, across all releases, Jaws earned roughly $472 million by the end of its run. That equates to nearly $2 billion adjusted for inflation at 2011 prices, cementing Jaws as one of the top grossing films in history, inflation adjusted. And you can see why. Again, it won 3 Oscars. It was nominated for Best Picture, losing to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Notably, Steven Spielberg was snubbed for Best Director, which he later admitted he resented. And like you said, you can't really blame them for giving it to Cuckoo's Nest. But, I mean, they could give it to Jaws too.
Yeah, that's true.
John Williams' iconic score not only won the Oscar, but also took home the Grammy Award, the BAFTA Award, and Golden Globe for Best Film Music. Editor Verna Fields added a American Cinema Editors or Eddie Award to her Oscar. Jaws was even voted Favorite Motion Picture at the People's Choice Awards years later in 2001. The film was selected for preservation and the U.S. National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. In terms of what the critics thought of it, we had critical praise. Jaws was met with mostly glowing reviews. Famed critic Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, calling it a sensationally effective action picture, a scary thriller with well-developed characters as frightening as The Exorcist, and yet it's a nicer kind of fright. More fun because we're being scared by an outdoor saga instead of a devil. Critic Pauline Kael likewise gushed that Jaws was the most cheerfully perverse scare movie ever made. More zest than an early Woody Allen picture. Funny in a Woody Allen sort of way. I don't know how I take that. Many praise Spielberg's...
Before you go further, I mean, like, you could take it 2 ways. Like, you could take it in the way that he's a weirdo and that this doesn't make any sense, or you could take it in the way that, like, I've watched 5 or 6 Woody Allen films, and there's nothing like the comedy in Woody Allen in Jaws. So neither one of them make any sense. But go on.
Maybe she was thinking of Ants before it came out. Many praise Spielberg's directing and the film's unprecedented suspense. Variety noted the absolutely magnificent performance of Robert Shaw, and others hailed the film as exhilarating adventure entertainment of the highest order with extraordinary technical achievements. Not all reviewers were entirely positive. Vincent Canby of the New York Times critiqued the shallow characterization, observing that the characters exist merely as functions of the action, like stagehands who move props. And he knew that the films lack sympathy for the victims, though he admitted it's sort of a nonsense that can be a good deal of fun. The hell are you talking about? Like, Brody felt horrible when the lady slapped him. And Quint felt horrible for the victims of the damn Indianapolis. That's why he became a shark hunter, supposedly. The Los Angeles Times critic Charles Champlin, that is, found Jaws overly gruesome and sensational, arguing it's too gruesome for children. and likely to turn the stomach of the impressionable at any age. Is a coarse-grained and expletive work which depends on excessive for its impact. Ashore to bore, awkwardly staged and lumpily written. What the hell did you watch, Charlie Chaplin?
Charlie Chaplin.
A few others echoed that the film relied on shock effects, a scare machine, as one later critic put it, and pointed out the unconvincing rubber mechanical shark in a few shots. I thought the shark looked great.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job not putting it in films. And the whole film, like, he did a great job building up to it.
I agree.
Its cultural impact and legacy, the birth of the summer blockbuster, as we mentioned before, Jaws fundamentally changed Hollywood's business model and the film release strategy. Universal Studios mounted an unprecedented marketing blitz for Jaws, spending $700,000 on primetime TV ads, and it opened nationwide on hundreds of screens in June 1975. The gamble paid off as Jaws quickly recouped its costs and shattered box office records. Its massive success as a summer thriller pioneered just a summer blockbuster concept, leading studios to embrace wide releases backed by heavy advertising each summer. The film's triumph was soon emulated in Star Wars and ushered in the era where big summer event films dominate ticket sales. For public reaction, culturally, Jaws had a profound and problematic effect on the public's perception of sharks and the ocean. The movie tapped into primal fears so deeply that beach attendance reportedly dropped by 10 to 30% in the U.S. during the summer of 1975, following the film's release. I don't know if I ever told you this. I hate going to the beach. I don't like the way sand feels on your feet. I like the way sand feels under the water. I'm weird like that. I love swimming. Like I could swim in a pool. Like I was a lifeguard, but just the beach always like I just never liked the way it felt.
I hear you. I've been there. I feel you.
Many viewers became terrified of going into the water, and the great white shark instantly entered the public imagination as a lurking man-eating monster. This led to surges in shark fishing and shark culling in California. For example, Jaws inspired shark hunt tournaments that nearly wiped out local great white populations. Wow. Both Spielberg and Peter Benchley, the author of Jaws, later regretted the shark hysteria the story caused. Benchley spent these later years advocating for shark conservation, and Spielberg lamented the decimation of the shark population because of the book and the film. I really, truly regret that. The film's legacy is a double-edged sword. It showcased the power of effective storytelling in cinema, but also spawned a lasting shark phobia in popular culture. This just proves to me that humans are idiots. They're idiots. Like, it just gives you another, like, don't give them something too good and believable because they'll mess it up some way or another. Jaws kick-started a media franchise and inspired countless limitations. It spawned 3 sequels. Jaws 2, which I happened to watch yesterday, Tony, and that movie is horrible. It is horrible. There's Jaws 3, 3D in 1983, and Jaws: The Revenge, which is just as I think Michael Caine's in The Revenge, isn't he?
Yes, he sure is. Mario Van Peebles.
Isn't what was the movie that trying to eat Marty? It was a Jaws movie, like Jaws like 25 or something.
Yes.
And it's like this time it's personal. It's like that was the tagline. Though each earned diminishing critical and commercial returns, collectively all 3 sequels barely made half of the original did. The original film's formula, nature-based horror, man versus monster, gave a rise to the entire subgenre of animal attack thrillers and B movies, attempting to replicate the success. Jaws also led to popular theme park rides, notably the Jaws theme park ride at Universal Studios Florida, which opened in 1990 and was there to about 2012. Did you ever go on that, Tone?
We went to Disney World once when I was in 8th grade, and I went on it. And honestly, it was my favorite thing out of all of Disney World. Because
Nice.
like at that time period, this was like going for my younger sisters. So I was just like, what am I doing here? And I was like, we went on the Jaws ride, and it felt real. So when I heard that they closed it down, it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I went it a couple times when I went to Disney. I always thought it was funny when they had the guy shoot it.
Yeah.
I never went on the King Kong ride though. Did you go on that? Was that
I went
awesome?
on that one too when I was there too.
How was it? Like, was it really?
It
Was it like
was
in a wizard?
it looked a lot fake. Like Jaws felt real, where like King Kong, he looked mechanicalized, like as he was moving, but still, fun.
What about the Twister exhibit?
That was before because I went in
Okay.
'95. Twister
Oh,
didn't come
okay.
out till '96.
Yeah, I went to the Twister one. It was pretty cool. They have it comes and like destroys the stuff. Um, an array of merchandise and tie-ins accompanied the film and kept its presence in pop culture. Again, novels were made, the making of books, toys, T-shirts, posters, even a 1975 board game where players fish items out of a plastic shark's mouth. Over the years, several video games based on Jaws have been released. The 1987 NES game. Have you ever played that?
Yes, I actually have.
With you got to collect the shells and shit.
Yeah, that wasn't. It's kind of tough.
The 2006 Jaws Unleashed, a game for PC, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, where the player controls the Great White, and the 2011 Wii 3DS game Jaws Ultimate Predator. The film's iconic theme music, those menacing two notes by John Williams and famous lines, "You're gonna need a bigger boat," have become ingrained in pop culture lexicon, reference and parody insufferable and insurmountable times. In some, Jaws impact extends from the movie's industry business practices to the public eye psyches, and its legacy is seen in everything from summer movie marketing strategies to ongoing shark conversations and conservation conversations. I'm pretty sure Jaws is probably another big reason of Shark Week.
Oh yeah, sure is.
So without Jaws, there'd be no Shark Week.
That is true.
So I have a funny fan theory here.
Let's do it.
A lighthearted fan theory floating around the internet suggests that the world of Jaws is secretly connected to Pixar's Finding Nemo. Specifically, that Bruce, the friendly great white shark in Finding Nemo, is actually the son of the infamous shark from Jaws. This, of course, is tongue-in-cheek, as the theory points out that Steven Spielberg nicknamed the mechanical shark prop in Jaws Bruce after his lawyer, which is presumably why the vegetarian shark in Finding Nemo was also named Bruce. In Finding Nemo, Bruce mentions that "I never knew my father," which theorists jokingly interpreted as a nod to his dad being absent because his father was off terrorizing Amity Island in 1975 and ended up getting blown to bits by Chief Brody's oxygen tank. The support group for the sharks that Bruce leads, with the mantra "fish are friends, not food," is, according to the theory, Bruce's attempt to not turn out like his man-eating father. While obviously not an official Pixar or Spielberg canon, this quirky fan theory provides a fun cross-universe connection between a horror thriller and a family cartoon. What do you think about Bruce as
I like that
Jaws'
one, man.
dad?
I like that one. I'm actually going to get off this, and if Katie isn't listening in the other room, say it again, because I like that theory. It's a cool theory.
Yeah, I love Finding Nemo. Great movie.
Because I didn't realize, honestly, that the shark's name in that movie was Bruce, and that's what they called the shark behind the scenes. That's pretty cool.
I never knew my father. It's a great movie. So, Tone, that is our Shark-estic Jaws breakdown, my man. Any final thoughts?
You know, you said we wouldn't have gotten Shark Week without Jaws. We definitely wouldn't have gotten one of my favorites, Deep Blue Sea, without Jaws.
Shark fucking ate me.
Great movie, man. It was fun rewatching it this week. It's like I said, check out that documentary. It's iconic. You know what I mean? It's an iconic film. So much so I always have this poster right behind me.
Yes. Jaws is always in the show. Great film. I really enjoyed going through all the notes for this. I did like the video concept of it. Let me know what you guys think, or if you guys just like the more of the video quotes, just something I tried a little new. But yeah, I really love going through this, and you know, it's 50 years later, and the film's, like I said, still scaring people, still inspiring people. You know, you got something special when it's still doing that, and you have all these reunions 50 years later that people are still talking about.
It's true.
But with that, Tone, we are coming close to the end of our show, my friend. We're already at the 2 hour and 25 minute mark. Before we get into the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, my friend, tell everybody what's going on at the Hookup on Music and with the James Bond pod.
We are for the Hookup on Music, we just talked about the sad passing of Ozzy. We did a whole dedication episode. Please check that out. We'll be back this week with a whole new episode. James Bond, we will be hitting up this weekend. You'll Only Live Twice, which will be great too. Another great soundtrack. Nancy Sinatra does that one. That's going to be a good time.
Were the boots made for walking for that one?
I hope so. That would be, I like that song.
Yeah, be sure to check out Tony does a one-man show for Hook on Music, and it's extremely hard to do a one-man show, and Tony knocks it out of the ballpark. I love listening to Tony just go through stuff.
Well, after what Brian said this about Phil Collins earlier, I was like, am I going to have to do a show before this show? And I was like, I don't know.
Crazy, yeah. Be sure to check out his stuff at the Hookup, and him and Adam do a great job with the James Bond breakdowns. I had a Sopranos video that I did, and I didn't really like how it came out, so I kind of scrapped it. I got some ideas that are going to be floating around that I'll be putting something else new out. Just a heads up, if you still want to buy the ice shirts or stickers, they'll be up for about 2 more weeks, and then that money that is a portion of those proceeds will be donated to the National Immigration Justice Center. Which it says in the title. So be sure to pick them up at the Printify store or our shop. And before we get to the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, thank you again for listening, watching, commenting, bantering. We enjoy it all, and this is why we do it. It's just as a great hobby, and this keeps us going through our week, man. Just sit and talk music or movies with you guys.
It sure does, because if I didn't, I feel like I would turn into like Howard Hughes.
The way of the future. The way of the future. The way of the future. The way of the future.
But yes, great time, man. Great time.
Yes, sir. And with that, Tone, let's go into the Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week, my friend. The Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week.
So tonight I was thinking I went in my head. I thought about when I was 11 years old and my cousin came up to me and he was like, dude, have you ever heard this Ozzy song from the Buffy the Vampire soundtrack? I was like, no. He's like, it's called Party with the Animals. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, at the end, when all this crazy shit goes down at the gym and shit's flying around and people are that's the song that's like blasting. And for some reason, I always remember that part and I remember that song. It's also, if you happen to buy No More Tears, it's like the bonus track on there too. But to be fair, the soundtrack is celebrating a 33-year anniversary coming up here on the 28th. There's some other stuff on it that's really good, like Matthew Sweet does Silent City, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Little Heaven. The Cult is on it doing Zap City. Pantera and Rob Halford doing Light Comes Out of Black. Hilariously, CNC Music Factory doing Keep It Coming, Dance Till You Can't Dance No More. Talk about an iconic soundtrack. Susanna Hoffs is on it. You might be like, well, who is Susanna Hoffs? She was in the band The Bangles. Just a crazy soundtrack. Also, the movie had REM, Everybody Hurts in it. But when trying to think of a different kind of a soundtrack here and thinking of the sad passing of Ozzy, this is what came up in my head tonight.
Great stuff, man. Great film, first of all. Chrissy Scott
awesome
as
Rutger Hauer and Paul Rubens hit this out of the park.
Yes.
And that whole scene where he's like, David Arquette's like, let me in, Pike. I'm hungry. But Benny, you're flying. But I'm hungry. That whole scene right there is great. I love the movie.
Yeah. Also, Susanna Hoffs, how can you not remember or like know her from Walk Like an Egyptian?
Yes.
Where she looks at her eyes go side to side.
Yes.
Great video, great song. But yeah, I really like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I didn't watch too much of the TV show when it came out, but I did watch Angel. Also, shout out to our guy Paul Rubens, who's in Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Emilion.
He's great.
He's awesome in it, and Rutger Hauer.
He's great too.
Yeah, great film. Great soundtrack too.
Thank you.
Good pick, my man. Well, that's our show for tonight. Thanks again for watching, listening, and doing everything you do. We'll be back next week, Tone.
Yes, we will.
Yep. Be sure to check us out at Sadistic Penguin Studios for all our blogs, podcasts, and tomfoolery there. We will be back next week, and everybody have a good night and a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
Bear.